Chapter 290. Immeasurable. Mother * King Celestial Being. Whose dog is this? Duanda bared his teeth and cried out in pain, shaking his arms. However, he couldn't get rid of the Black Emperor at all. The big black dog could swallow a large roller after opening its bloody mouth, and it was biting with all its might. Ah, 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 woof, woof, woof. Duanda and the big black dog were both barking. One was in excruciating pain and the other was biting hard. One wanted to get rid of it and the other refused to let go. The Black Emperor's body was quite large, and the huge head that stretched out from the cauldron was quite fierce. It bit Duanda and almost swallowed half of his body. Clang! The big black dog's large paws pressed down on the broken bowl on Duanda's head. He suddenly abandoned the unscrupulous Taoist priest's arm and bit the broken bowl with his mouth, trying to snatch it back. He had never been one to suffer losses. Even though he had intentionally given the animal hide scroll to Duanda, he felt that he couldn't let Duanda have it for free. Seeing the treasure, he wanted to take Duanda's divine object for himself. Unscrupulous, celestial being, this is so infuriating. It had always been him who snatched other people's treasures. Today not only was he bitten by a dog but he was also robbed by a dog. Duanda was so angry that his nose was almost crooked. The broken bowl trembled slightly, and a terrifying destructive force was released. The Black Emperor was shocked, and a golden bell rushed out of his divine sense, jingling and shaking. At the same time, Yi Fan helped, activating his cauldron and attacking the unscrupulous Taoist priest. However, this broken bowl still made people's hearts palpitate. It contained unimaginably terrifying power, but it didn't really release it. The big black dog's heart skipped a beat. A crack appeared on his forehead, and the third vertical eye opened, shooting out a black light that penetrated Duanda's sea of consciousness. Yi Fan also felt danger. Without saying anything, the small golden lake between his eyebrows also shot out an inch-long golden sword, slashing at Duanda's forehead. Whether it was the big black dog's golden bell or Yi Fan's cauldron, they were both blocked by the broken bowl. The weapon attack wasn't very effective. However, the divine sense attack was too sudden. Duanda cried out and was hit on the spot, staggering back. Woof, 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 woof. The large black dog's bark shook the heavens. He suddenly rushed out of the cauldron and lay on the bowl, using the golden bell as a shield. He hugged the bowl tightly and refused to let go. At the same time, his powerful divine sense surged forward like a tidal wave. Not good, retreat quickly. Yi Fan roared in a low voice. This bowl was no ordinary item, and it would strike fear into one's heart. He was afraid that something would happen to the large black dog. Before the Black Emperor retreated, he bit half of Duanda's body and tore his Taoist robe apart. He transformed into a black light and returned to Yi Fan's cauldron. The heartless Taoist priest was bitten miserably. His Taoist robe was torn and tattered, making him look like a beggar. There were teeth marks all over his body, making him look as miserable as one could imagine. Boundless celestial being, damn it, I've been bitten by a dog. Boundless Wuxia *Seek, I've bitten your nose. The large black dog retorted. Where did this dog demon come from? The heartless Taoist priest had a wretched expression. Looking at the teeth marks all over his body, he really wanted to eat black dog meat on the spot. This was the first time he had suffered such a great loss. Whose nose was left unchained. The large black dog also had a displeased expression and shouted loudly. The heartless Taoist priest's nose almost became crooked from anger, and he said, I still want to say whose dog was left unchained? I haven't finished speaking yet, whose nose was left unchained. The large black dog bared his teeth. Everyone present was dumbfounded. These two fellows were really outrageous and they didn't know what to say. Yet Yi Fan wanted to laugh loudly. This damned fatty had never suffered a loss and had snatched many of his things. Afterwards, he had been stuffed into the demon god's tomb by the various great sage masters, and he had still come out alive and well. It was rare for him to suffer a loss today. Forget it, I can't be bothered to lower myself to your level. The large black dog had gained enough advantage and in the end, he revealed an expression of, I can't be bothered to pay attention to you. The heartless Taoist priest pointed at the Black Emperor, and was just about to say something, but he was interrupted by Yi Fan. Taoist priest, what do you mean? He deliberately darkened his face and stared at Duanda with an unfriendly expression and said, although we have some friendship, but to scheme against an old friend like this, do you think it's acceptable? Immeasurable celestial being, this humble Taoist is afraid that little brother Yi will suffer a loss. With so many people eyeing you covetously, This humble Taoist is afraid that little brother Yi will suffer a loss. Fatty, you will suffer retribution for being so greedy. Yi Fan didn't say anything more. He looked unhappy, but he was laughing heartily in his heart. Duanda could freely enter and exit the force field formed by the primal chaos stones, and the field energy couldn't lock him down at all. The black and swarthy broken bowl overflowed with ripples, and counteracted this kind of confinement. The Black Emperor transmitted his voice to Yi Fan and said, "There must be something extraordinary in this broken bowl. It seems like it's sealed and he doesn't want to expose it. It's really unimaginable." Yi Fan nodded in agreement. He didn't want to really fall out with this damned fatty. This guy hid his strength deeply, and he didn't know how many trump cards he had. The others were also very shocked. They couldn't guess what kind of strange treasure Duanda had, but it was definitely very shocking. Shwa. With a flash of light, Duanda withdrew from the force field formed by the primal chaos stones, landed on the ground and kept the ancient scroll in his bosom. Everyone stared at him, especially the holy sons and holy daughters who were frozen in midair. They were all extremely unwilling, not because their cultivation was weak, but because they lacked treasures. There was nothing they could do about being trapped here. "Taoist priest Duan, do you want to leave?" Yen Ryu stepped forward and looked at him with a smile that was not a smile. Facing the demon race princess who was wielding an extreme weapon, Duanda acted as if he was facing a great enemy, his expression unsettled. Boom! On top of the primal chaos stones, the Li Flame divine furnace trembled. The three people sealed inside did not want to sit still and wait for death, so they did their best to attack. Yao Guang Saint Child, Golden-Winged Little Ping King, and Yao Shi were not ordinary people. Yi Fan secretly transmitted his voice and said, "Black Emperor, can you help me seal this furnace? Even if we leave the primal chaos stones, we can ensure that they won't be able to rush out." "This is difficult." The Black Emperor frowned and said, "Although this broken furnace is very sturdy, it's a little strange. I'm afraid there's no way to engrave Dao patterns on it. Think carefully and see if there's any way." Yi Fan felt that time was of the essence. He was afraid that he didn't have time to refine the three of them. Engraving Dao patterns requires a large amount of precious materials. Where can I find them in such a short period of time? There's no way. The Black Emperor shook his head. "I need materials." Suddenly Yi Fan's heart stirred. He thought of the secret technique in the Dao scripture. There were only a few strokes and the contents were limited. However, he had seriously studied it before. He had once used that forbidden technique, using an artifact to suppress one's body and achieve eternity. 9 mysterious ancient characters. I don't need any other precious materials. As long as I engrave them on the artifact, I can achieve suppression. Yi Fan quickly took action. This time he was not suppressing himself but the 3 experts. Black Emperor Protector. His expression was solemn. He could not refine the 3 experts here, so he planned to completely seal them. Rumble. Suddenly, a violent tremor came from outside the main hall. Someone was forcefully pulling out the great flag that Yi Fan had set up, and was about to break in. All the holy sons and holy daughters revealed expressions of joy, feeling that their people must have arrived. Not good. Yi Fan calmed himself down and emptied his mind, engraving an imprint on the Li Fire divine furnace. His expression was incomparably solemn. Using his mind as a brush, he engraved an unrecognizable ancient character on the lid of the furnace. Every stroke was extremely focused and he temporarily forgot everything outside. Shwa. With a flash of light, the first imprint was completed, and he struck it into the lid of the furnace. However, he didn't dare to relax. He didn't know if this strange furnace would erase this kind of imprint. After all, its self-recovery ability was very abnormal. There's no sign of it disappearing. It seems like it can be preserved. He was delighted. "You actually know how to engrave this kind of thing?" The large black dog had just seen that character with his own eyes and was extremely shocked. "What's so special about it?" Yi Fan asked. "This is a character that only the great emperor can recognize. It's the pattern of heaven and earth, and it's very difficult for outsiders to understand what exactly is going on." The large black dog stared at Yi Fan and said, "You've mastered a few characters. When the time comes, you must teach them to me." Yi Fan's heart instantly skipped a beat, but he didn't say anything. He quickly calmed his emotions, calmed himself, and began to engrave characters again. Shwa. With a flash of light, the second ancient character, the third ancient character. He engraved 7 ancient characters in a row, and the lid of the furnace suddenly became misty, firmly sealing the furnace. However, the others didn't pay attention to all this. Everyone was staring at Duanda. After all, that ancient scroll had been obtained by him. Boom. Outside the great emperor's bedchambers, many people were moving, and several hundred great flags were pulled out one by one. In the end, there was a violent tremor, and over a dozen people walked in. These dozen or so people looked to be in their 30s or 40s, but no one knew how old they really were. All of them walked calmly, and their expressions were calm. One could tell at a glance that they had extraordinary temperaments. One of them wore a 5-colored feather robe, and he was naturally proud and extraordinary. His brows were straight like swords, and he looked disdainfully at everyone in the main hall. Finally, 2 sharp rays of light shot out from his eyes, and he stared at Jianghu. "Kong Ting, what do you want to do?" someone beside him shouted. In the main hall, everyone was shocked. Who was Kong Ting? He was the Peacock King's eldest true disciple, and he had inherited the Peacock King's supreme mysterious technique. His strength was unfathomable. In the past, it was he who had chased Jianghu to the ends of the earth in the southern region, and he had almost died outside. "Don't worry, I won't make a move here. After all, you have more people and my demon race only has a few people," Kong Ting replied coldly. Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. None of the dozen or so middle-aged people were easy to deal with. They were all extraordinary figures in the land of the great sage, and they were half a generation or even a generation older than the youngsters present. Whoosh whoosh. The light flickered continuously, and Yi Fan finally imprinted the last 2 words into the lid, completely sealing the divine furnace of Li fire. At this point he let out a long sigh. Taoist Duan. Kong Ting glanced at the chaos stones and then stared at Duanda. The dozen or so people who came in with him all had great backgrounds, and their statuses were not lower than his. They were all geniuses in the land of the great sage, and they all stared at Duanda. Everything can be discussed. Duanda smiled insincerely, and he took out the ancient scroll. "Eldest senior brother, please save the saint and the saintess." A light-shaking realm disciple stepped forward, and respectfully bowed to a middle-aged man. This was a man who looked to be about 37 or 38 years old. He was tall, with thick eyebrows and big eyes. He was incomparably handsome, and people could not help but be in awe of him, as if he was an immortal king. Many people present were shocked, and they immediately knew who this person was. This was Chu Ling Kong of the light-shaking realm, and he had almost been chosen as the saint in the past. Is that so? Someone actually captured the saintess and the saint of the light-shaking realm at the same time? Chu Ling Kong's eyes were as deep as the ocean, and he looked into the air. Yi Fan's expression was calm, and he sat cross-legged on the chaos stones, still casting fire spells. The 3 geniuses in the furnace spoke calmly, and he said, "I want to suppress them for a year, and then release them to the Holy Land when the time is up." Everyone's expression changed. A small cultivator from the Holy Ji Palace dared to suppress the descendants of the Holy Land. If this got out, it would definitely shock the world. He actually dared to say such a thing, and there was not a single person from the land of the great sage who was not shocked. This was a monster, and they had more or less heard of his name before, but none of the geniuses from the Holy Land cared. Today they were destined to remember this name. Chapter 291. Little Uncle, that is the criminal wanted by the Ji clan, Yi Fan. The people of the Ji clan also came forward and bowed to a 38 or 39-year-old middle-aged man. How courageous, daring to come here. The genius of the Ji clan clasped his hands behind his back and spoke calmly. Many people recognized him. He was Ji Yuanqing of the Ji clan. He had a medium build and wasn't very tall, but he had the aura of the great Tao. He was very ethereal, like a piece of void, and people couldn't catch a trace of him. He gave people a feeling of nothingness. This was the sign that he had cultivated the void scripture to an extremely high level. Back then he fought with the eldest disciple of the Peacock King, Kong Ting, from the southern region to the central plains. He was very famous in the land of the great sage. If it wasn't for the fact that the Ji clan had a divine body, Jianghu, the future leader of the clan would definitely be him. Where did the little Peng King go? At this time Kong Ting also raised his head. His sharp eyebrows were raised and a sharp aura rushed out. Apart from Yen Ryu, there were other beasts on the ground. One of them came forward and reported, the little Peng King was also suppressed by Yi Fan. What? 3 heaven's favorites were suppressed by him alone. These people's expressions changed. They were half a generation older than the younger generation and were all geniuses. However, they also paid attention to the chosen saints and saintesses. The little Peng King and the wavering light saint seemed to have the potential to become emperors. They were similar to the ancient emperors when they were young. They couldn't help but be surprised that they were suppressed by one person at the same time. Kong Ting took a step forward. His eyebrows were like swords and his eyes were like stars. He was born with pride and looked majestic even when he wasn't angry. He stared at Yi Fan in the air and said, "No wonder my teacher has high hopes for you. You are indeed extraordinary. Whether it is luck or strength, to be able to suppress these three means that you have a place in the younger generation." The eldest disciple of the Wavering Light Holy Land, Chu Ling Kong, walked forward. He was tall and slender like a celestial king. His eyes were as deep as the stars. He stared at Yi Fan and said, "Release them." Yi Fan had suppressed a total of 3 people, and 2 of them were from the Wavering Light Sacred Land. This made him frown slightly. If this matter spread, it would have a great impact on the Wavering Light Sacred Land. Yi Fan stood up and smiled brilliantly. He said, "I was just about to tell everyone that I'm definitely going to keep these 3 people. It's impossible for me to let them go. I want you to stop trying to kill me within this 1 year, and stop searching for my whereabouts. If you can do that, I'll let you go after a year." Everyone was shocked. They never imagined that Yi Fan would dare to state such a condition in front of so many geniuses from the sacred lands. "Are you confident that you can leave this place?" Chu Lingkong's expression was calm, but his eyes were sharp. Boom. Suddenly, the direct disciple of the Peacock King, Kong Teng, took action. His palm struck out, causing the entire hall to shake. He stood in front of the door, blocking Duanda's path. At the same time, Chu Lingkong, Ji Yuanqing, and the others made their move as well, cutting off the unscrupulous Taoist priest's path forward, preventing him from escaping. "Taoist priest Duan, why did you leave without saying goodbye?" These dozen or so people were all very calm. They had been famous for many years and each of them was very shrewd and vigilant. Duanda couldn't run even if he wanted to. These dozen or so people were all geniuses from the previous generation. If they joined hands, they could almost fight against powerful existences and kill some sect masters of great sections. Duanda had a bitter expression on his face. He chanted a Taoist name and said, "This humble Taoist just wanted to go out and get some fresh air." He didn't dare to force his way in. His current situation was very bad. There were more than 10 geniuses blocking his way in front, and behind him, there was the threat of the demon race princess wielding an extreme weapon. It made him feel uneasy all over. Boom. The entire light palace almost flipped over due to the violent tremors. No one knew how great the force was. Even the primal chaos stone at the center of the hall shook. The force field was somewhat unstable, and it was affected by a powerful shockwave. Everyone's expression changed. They were extremely shocked. Duanda shrank his neck and said, "Everyone run quickly. If you delay any longer it will be too late. There are 3 big coffins behind us. Something must have broken out of the coffins." As he spoke, he wanted to slip out. "Taoist priest Duan, you should just stay here obediently," Ji Yuanqing said coldly. Kong Teng and Chu Lingkong's eyes were like lightning. The dozen or so people all revealed killing intent and were ready to attack him at any time. "I'm doing this for your own good. Really, this humble Taoist can swear to the heavens that those 3 coffins are not something we can touch." Duanda pointed at the sky. "Don't worry, it's the supreme elders of the great sage's land." Chu Lingkong replied coldly. "You guys really dare to touch them? Those are the absolute coffins of 3 talents. Someone wants to use a corpse to become a martial emperor. He must be an incomparably terrifying character." Duanda's face was somewhat green. If he can't become a martial emperor when he's alive, how can he become one after death? He won't be stronger than the great sage's land. "My teacher is enough to suppress him," Kong Teng said indifferently. Duanda's expression changed again and again. The Peacock King looked down on the southern region. Even the great sage's land couldn't do anything to him. He was indeed extremely powerful. Boom. The violent energy impact almost blew the entire great emperor's palace away. If it was any other building, it would have long been turned into ashes. But this was great Emperor Wu Shi's residence. It was stained with his aura and engraved with the great emperor's lines. Even if it was an almighty being, he wouldn't be able to destroy this place. A loud roar resounded. The mountains and rivers shook. Ain Mountain under the ground directly collapsed. The entire underground world shook violently. It was as if the most terrifying earthquake had happened. Roar! Another loud roar shook the mountains and the earth. Some of the weaker cultivators in the hall were directly crushed to pieces. The survivors were so scared that their faces turned pale. Even Kong Teng, Ji Yuanqing, Chu Lingkong, and Duanda's expressions changed. It was obvious that an almighty being had made a move. The strength of a person at that level was unimaginable. He could directly shatter mountains and rivers with a roar. "It's my teacher." Kong Ting's expression was solemn. Yi Fan also recognized the voice. It was the Peacock King's voice. He was fighting a peerless expert alone. Ji Yuanqing and Chu Lingkong's expressions changed again and again. The Peacock King's divine power was unfathomable. 800 years ago he swept across the southern region. He had fought against the Alcade Saint Lord and the Ji family's Saint Lord. He had never been defeated in his life. His divine bravery was rare in the world. The Ji family had a deep impression of him. More than a year ago in the southern region, the Peacock King's roar had shattered many famous figures of the Ji family. He had even killed their supreme elder with one slap. Quick, close the door. Otherwise there won't be many people left here. They will all be killed by my teacher. Kong Ting said. He wasn't thinking for the sake of the Holy Lands. Because there were also some demon race cultivators and people of the 13 great bandits here. More than a dozen people moved and sealed the Light Palace, isolating them from the outside world. And at this time the Peacock King attacked with true fire. His divine power was monstrous, spreading far and wide. His roar shook the mountains and rivers. Boom! In front of him, the 5 palaces that had been broken through before were all destroyed by his roar. They became ruins. He and an expert flew across the sky, fighting fiercely in the air of the underground world. Yi Fan had seen the Peacock King before. He looked to be only 16 or 17 years old. He was very delicate and handsome. Who would have thought that he would be so brave in a real battle? Brat, don't refine those 3 people. Let's leave quickly. This Peacock King is a bit scary, the Black Emperor urged. Yi Fan nodded. Anyway, he had already sealed the little Pen King Yaoshi and Yaoshi. It didn't matter if he could refine them or not. Suddenly the roar of a peng filled the sky. The entire underground world was oppressed, making people's souls tremble. The old Peng King has appeared. He is indeed terrifying. Many people's expressions changed. Yi Fan was even more shocked. That was the ancestor of the little Peng King, a giant of the demon race. His battle strength was monstrous and he had the fastest speed in the eastern wasteland. Even the great sage lords had a headache dealing with him. Brat, let the little Peng King out, Kong Ting said. Let the son and daughter out, Chu Lingkong said indifferently. I really don't know how you can escape. Ji Yuanqing shook his head. Yi Fan did not panic. He said, there are people from all the holy lands here. In front of all of you I will say it again. Don't disturb me for a year. Otherwise the 3 people I took away will die a violent death. What a joke. Who do you think you are? You think you can negotiate with us? Someone rebuked. Although these people were well-mannered, their faces immediately darkened when a small cultivator from the Holy Ji Palace repeatedly made such demands. On the side, the 2nd and 3rd layer disciples of the Holy Ji Palace mocked him. You are about to die and you still dare to talk big. Do you really think you are a mighty figure? Yi Fan smiled and said indifferently, what's so great about a holy land? I will visit the Ji family and the Alcade one by one. When the time comes I will openly borrow your ancient scriptures. This was very disgraceful. Borrowing the ancient scriptures of a holy land was easy to say, but other than the great ancient emperors who could do such a thing? Unless they could conquer this holy land, how could they do so? This was a blatant declaration of war. No matter what Yi Fan was like in the past, from this day on, his name would spread to all the major sections. He would be known for the first time. You really don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. You have a primordial trash body. What capital do you have? You have no future at all, and yet you dare to speak so shamelessly? The dozen geniuses and the son and daughter saints did not say anything, but the young disciples could not stand it and rebuked him one after another. Then we will meet in the future. I, with my primordial trash body, will learn from all of you. Yi Fan stood on the Chaos Stone and glanced at everyone. Swoosh. With a flash of light, a mysterious jade platform appeared on the Chaos Stone. Yi Fan trembled as he stepped onto it. Not good, stop him. At this moment, everyone came to their senses. The other party could actually carve a moving spatial platform. This shocked them. Swoosh. With a flash of light, Yi Fan disappeared from his original spot. At this moment, Duanda charged over like a ghost. He also wanted to use the mysterious jade platform to cross the void. Crack. However, at this moment, the mysterious jade platform suddenly shattered, and Duanda was sent flying. Unscrupulous celestial being, it's a one-time use platform. Duanda was so angry that the roots of his teeth were itching. Behind him, more than 10 people surrounded him. All of them had unfriendly expressions. Unexpectedly allowing Yi Fan to escape, no one felt proud. Everyone, let's study this ancient scroll together. There is no need to be so nervous. Duanda's smile was uglier than crying. Thousands of miles away with a flash of light, the cauldron made of the myriad source chi rushed out of the void. Yi Fan and the Black Emperor appeared from the cauldron. Quick, continue to carve Dao patterns. This time we have to go 10,000 miles away. That old rock king has the world's fastest speed. A distance of 1,000 miles is nothing to him. The Black Emperor didn't delay and quickly moved. Soon they finished carving. Then they traversed through the void again and went 10,000 miles away. After traversing through the void many times, they were completely far away from Lizhou. After being separated by more than 20 oases, Yi Fan heaved a sigh of relief. He knew that he was out of danger. On that day the news seemed to have grown wings and spread to the surrounding regions. A cultivator named Yi Fan suppressed the Alcade Saint, Little Rock King and Yao Shi. This shook dozens of continents. In just a few days Yi Fan's name shocked hundreds of oases and spread to half of the north region. Many people knew that a cultivator named Yi Fan was going to suppress 3 prodigies for a year. Who was Yi Fan? There were some rumors in the past, but most sects didn't know about him. From now on, most people in the north region would no longer be strangers to him. Little Rock King and Alcade Saint were people who had the potential to walk the path of a great emperor. They were rare opponents in the younger generation of Eastern Baron and were the future Eastern Baron King. However, they had been suppressed by a nameless cultivator. Without a doubt, the news would spread more and more people would know about it. From now on, everyone in the world would know about him. This wasn't an exaggeration. Yi Fan suppressed Yao Shi, Little Rock King, and Alcade Saint and took them away. This would cause his name to spread to all the sects. Chapter 292. Have you heard of a young man named Yi Fan? He suppressed the golden-winged Little Peng King, a top expert of the demon race's younger generation. I did hear that. Is it true? I heard that he is only a 15 or 16-year-old cultivator. How could he suppress the sky rock kind who can compete with the ruler of the immortal body? Your news is too outdated. It has gone crazy in the north. This is definitely true. The people from the Hall of 5 Elements saw it with their own eyes. This was a discussion in a tea house. News like this spread and spread like wildfire across more than half of the north. In a gambling house not far away, a group of powerful cultivators were also discussing this topic. This is insane. Not only was the Little Rock suppressed, the son and daughter of the Alcade Holy Land were taken away as well. This is unbelievable. No way. Are you sure this news is true? The 2 representatives of the young generation from the Alcade Holy Land were suppressed by someone? That's just too far-fetched. There is no mistake. The people from the Palace of Disillusionment witnessed everything. A few of their disciples were killed by the little cultivator named Yi Fan. They saw it with their own eyes. This is too shocking. Where did this Yi Fan come from? He even managed to suppress Yao Guang's son. You should know that there are rumors in the sects that Yao Guang's son is undefeatable. How did he get taken away so quickly? What is this Yi Fan's background? Does he really have the ability to control the sky and earth? He took down 3 heaven's favorites at once. How shocking. Everyone in the gambling house discussed. Many people found it hard to believe and felt that this was too surreal. The Alcade son was highly regarded among the young generation of the humankind. Many famous figures were no longer his opponent. The other Holy Lands all feared him and thought that this future Alcade saint would have unimaginable achievements. However, he was suppressed by someone else. How could people not be shocked? The golden-winged Little Peng King and the Alcade Saint almost represented the future of the monster race and the human race, but now they were suppressed by the same person. Just who is that Yi Fan? What is his background? Which sect does he come from? Why does he have such a method to suppress 3 geniuses? The Ji clan once put him on the wanted list. Some time ago there were portraits of him in some cities and I even took a look at them. I heard that he was somewhere between the Sea of Reincarnation and the secret plane of the Holy Ji Palace. I didn't expect him to cause such a stir in the end. As the news spread, bits and pieces of information about Yi Fan were slowly unearthed. Although it was still incomplete, many cultivators in the northern domain had a rough understanding of him. Damn it, this brat is a ruthless person. He was beaten into the 6th level of the fire field and did not die. Half a year later he came out and did something that shocked the entire southern region. He burned the highest elder of the Ji family to death. He's just a little cultivator without any foundation, yet he was able to cross the void from the southern region of the eastern barren territory to the northern region. I really don't know how he did it. I guess he snuck in from some holy land. How surprising. From tea houses to restaurants, from one city to another, and from one oasis to another, the news spread very quickly. Half a month later, many sects learned about the incident. Everything about Yi Fan gradually became clear. It was only then that people were surprised to find that he was actually a barren body of the ancients. He has such a physique, yet he has also achieved extraordinary achievements. It's surprising. Could the sacred body of the ancients be able to regain its former glory? Impossible. He hasn't broken through the secret plane of the Holy Ji Palace, and he hasn't broken the curse. There might be a chance if he really enters the secret plane of the Four Extremes one day. A little cultivator from the secret plane of the Holy Ji Palace actually suppressed 3 geniuses. He has the yellow origin root. This is really shocking. Is this a sign from the heavens that the hope of the sacred body of the ancients has appeared? Yi Fan had a cauldron made of the source qi of myriad. This was the most crucial news, and it affected the nerves of many people. Many people wanted to find him. Especially the Holy Lands. Their desire for holy relics was even stronger because not every holy land had a great emperor who possessed an ultimate weapon. Since ancient times there were not many great emperors, but it did not mean that only great emperors could create holy lands. Holy lands that were not created by great emperors were equally terrifying because their accumulation was very deep. Some of them imitated nature and engraved the imprints of the great Tao. Some of them had obtained nameless inheritances and possessed unfathomable foundations. There were also some that had produced generations after generations of sages. After a long period of accumulation, they created supreme scriptures. Not a single holy land was unworthy of its name. All of them were extremely powerful, even beyond people's imagination. The only thing they lacked was an ultimate weapon. After all, the great emperors had long since ceased to exist. Only the ultimate weapons left behind were the most powerful things. Holy lands that did not have a great emperor naturally wanted holy relics. The latest news is that Yao Guang Holy Land and Ji Clan are offering an astronomical reward. Anyone who can provide relevant information can get 3 square meters of yuan. This is really a big deal. Anyone who can provide clues about Yi Fan can get 10,000 kilograms of source qi. Wealth moves people's hearts. Northern region will be in an uproar. This is not the most shocking news. The bigger reward is at the end. If you can provide information about Yi Fan's whereabouts, you can get 30 square meters of source qi. 30 square meters, a whole 50,000 kilograms of source qi, this is a heaven-defying price. Once this news spread, northern region was shaken. Many people started to move trying to find Yi Fan's whereabouts. Obviously this price was not because of Yi Fan, but because of the existence of the source qi of myriad. Many people sneered. Holy relics were priceless, even 1,000,000 kilograms of source qi was not enough. Any powerful force would not exchange it if they got it. Many cultivators started to move. Many people knew that even if they got the holy relics they could not keep them. If they went to other holy lands they could ask for a higher price than the Ji clan and Yaoguang Holy Land. In the southern region of eastern wilderness, Tai Xian's clumsy peak was a scene of withering vegetation. Ever since Yi Fan left here and burned the Ji clan's grand elder to death, Tai Xian Peak had suffered a lot of pressure. Even the sect leader of Tai Xian had to order the other disciples to return to the main peak. Clumsy Peak, which had just shown signs of prosperity, became desolate again. Now weeds were growing here, dead trees were everywhere, and yellow leaves were flying. In the whole peak only Li Ruoyu was there. He sat quietly among the ruins. You really have a good disciple, making the Holy Land restless. The sect leader of Tai Xian landed on Clumsy Peak. He had received the news from northern region. He is not my disciple, but it is worth it to have such a disciple. Even if Clumsy Peak is withered, with such a person, it will be able to develop in the future, Li Ruoyu answered. You are quite open-minded, but the pressure on Tai Xian has increased a lot. The sect leader of Tai Xian clasped his hands behind his back and looked into the clouds. Everyone hopes to have a disciple who can shake the world. Even if they die they can smile in the underworld. But there must be a limit. Otherwise it will be a disaster in the future. Also in the Taishan sect, there was a man in blue who was as handsome as jade and as otherworldly as an immortal. He gently plucked the strings of his guqin and played a beautiful piece. Many flowers bloomed with the sound of the guqin, and hundreds of birds flew to worship and dance because of the sound of the guqin. After the sound of the guqin, he looked up at a beautiful woman in white and said, Junior Sister Xiaoman, what kind of place is your hometown? I want to hear about it. I also want to tell you about Yi Fan. In the northern region, in a palace of the Ji clan, Ji Ziyue ground her shiny canines. She sighed and muttered to herself, so that little Taoist was him. Then she wrinkled her nose and hugged one of Ji Haoyue's arms. Fortunately, I didn't throw him into the furnace. I will catch him sooner or later. Jianghu's divine moon covered his body, and dragon chi coiled around him. The aura of a divine king had already begun to appear. The holy city of the north was a magnificent city that occupied an area of who knew how many miles. Since the beginning of records, this city had never changed its location. No one knew how long it had existed. The first ancient city of the north and the first divine city were both its names. Legend had it that in the distant past, it had been floating in the sky. There were powerful cultivators of the northern plains and the royal family of central plains who lived here all year round. At this moment, even some of the top figures in the city knew of Yi Fan's name. A powerful cultivator of the northern plains was laughing wildly in the holy city, startling many people. Old Rock King, no matter how arrogant you are, every time you see me your chin is almost raised to the sky. You have a prodigious descendant, but you can't be like this, saying that even 18 of my direct descendants can't defeat a descendant of yours. What happened in the end? You bragged too much. What great emperor's path? Didn't you get suppressed with a flip of your hand? Ah. Unfortunately, the old Rock King is searching for his descendant all over the world. Otherwise, I would be able to enjoy your shocking battle again. An older member of the royal family of Central Plains snickered. At this moment, if one were to say who was angered, the old Rock King was not the most furious. The people of the Wavering Light Sacred Land were the most furious. The Grand Sacred Land, the two leading figures of the future, were taken away by someone just like that with a furnace, not leaving a single one behind. The Holy Son of Wavering Light had the ambition of a great emperor, and his name shook the sacred lands. His performance was acknowledged by everyone, but now he was taken away by someone with a broken furnace. This made them feel humiliated. Yi Fan's words had long spread to the various great sections. In the future he would pay a visit to the Wavering Light Sacred Land and the Ji family. This made all of the sacred lands feel humiliated. This was a small cultivator declaring war against an undying inheritance. In the past half a month, the winds and clouds surged. It was difficult for the northern region to calm down, but not a single person could find Yi Fan. At this moment he did not feel any sense of danger. With a shake of his body, he transformed into a graceful youth. He often appeared in the gambling dens, appearing extremely carefree. Golden-winged little Peng King, holy son of Wavering Light, Yaoshi, all of you should quiet down a bit. If you make me angry, I'll throw you all into the origin ancient mine. Yi Fan held the Li Fire Divine Furnace and threatened the three people inside. However, what kind of mentality did the golden-winged little Peng King have? How could the holy son of Wavering Light and Yaoshi possibly yield? Their bodies were inside the copper furnace, attacking at it every day to break the seal. I still have a use for you guys right now. Don't make me make a bad move or else I'll suppress this furnace in a latrine pit for 10,000 years. When Yi Fan's words sounded, even the indifferent holy son of Wavering Light almost cursed out. Yaoshi was even more so angered to the point where her face lost color. However, the effects were clear. Even someone as arrogant as the golden-winged little Peng lost his temper. Chapter 293. Li Zhou's 9 secrets came from a very mysterious place. Yi Fan studied the silk carefully. According to what was written on it, it was very far away, close to the central region of the Eastern Barren Territory. The Holy Cliff was an ancient name. It was marked on the silk and it was the place that contained the 9 secrets. Yi Fan felt that the name was a bit special. He couldn't help but ask the big black dog, "Black Emperor, have you heard of the Holy Cliff?" The big black dog's heart skipped a beat. "How do you know this name?" "I threw the ancient scroll to Duanda and kept this silk. It mentions the location of the 9 secrets." Yi Fan didn't hide anything from the Black Emperor. This place is very unusual. A great emperor went there and felt something when he saw the ancient cliff, so he went there to pay homage, the Black Emperor said. "What kind of place is it?" Yi Fan was even more surprised. "There's a rumor that a sacred body of the ancients died there, and his blood dyed the stone cliff red. The great emperors of the ancients were all lonely and invincible. They traveled to the ancient cliff because they thought that if the sacred body was still alive, they would be worth fighting." "There's actually such an anecdote?" Yi Fan rubbed his chin. This was an unusual place. The 9 secrets was in that area, so he had to go there. However, he didn't want to leave right now. With the silk in hand, the 9 secrets couldn't run away. When the time came he could just follow the map. At present, what he needed the most was to increase his level, not to urgently search for secret techniques. These days he went to dozens of cities, constantly buying stones, and then went to uninhabited places to cut them open. In addition to what he had before, He had accumulated more than 5,000 kilograms of source. Right now he could already break through to the third heaven of the Doctrine Palace, but he wasn't satisfied. He really wanted to advance to the fourth heaven. However, it was too difficult. He needed 50,000 kilograms of source. This was a dizzying number. It was difficult to rely on stone gambling alone. Maybe it's time to go to the holy city? Yifan said to himself. After more than half a month, the storm in Lizhou didn't subside. On the contrary, it became more and more intense. The other person in the limelight that day, Duanda, was in a worse state than Yifan. The heartless Taoist priest was indeed a character. That day, under those circumstances, he actually found an opportunity and successfully escaped. However, his following days were extremely difficult. All the Holy Lands were searching for him at the same time. Wu Dao of the 13 Great Bandits was roaring as he chased after him, and the demon race was also pestering him relentlessly. After fleeing for half a month, Duandelian was so tired that he almost vomited blood. He was almost skinned alive. In the end, he couldn't take it anymore and threw the ancient scroll away. But even so, he didn't have it easy. Wu Dao of the 13 Great Bandits seemed to have locked onto him, and didn't stop for even a moment. He chased after him day and night. Someone noticed that Duanda had lost a great deal of weight in this half a month, and his entire body was covered in bloodstains. But the only thing that surprised everyone was that he was still alive and kicking, and he didn't show any signs of being unable to hold on. This damn fatty is really lucky. All the Holy Lands didn't kill him, and even Wu Dao couldn't catch up to him. Yifan was a little speechless. According to the latest news, Duanda was chased by Wu Dao to the point where there was no road to heaven or door to hell, and he fled in the direction of the central state. After the ancient scroll was thrown out by the heartless Taoist, the descendants of all the Holy Lands fought each other, which shocked the older generation figures. Their battle prowess was extremely astonishing. We have to return to the stone stronghold and move the people away. I reckon that after a period of time, the battle for the ancient scroll will have a result, and the great sage will most likely sit down and discuss it. That wasn't the 9 secrets, but a world-shocking map. If all the great sects understood it, there would definitely be huge waves. It wasn't something a single sect could monopolize, and that place couldn't be conquered by a single holy land. He didn't want the people of the stone stronghold to be attacked, so he wanted to settle them down in advance and get them far away from the Purple Mountain. If all the Holy Lands attack the Purple Mountain, the other places will definitely be empty. At that time, there might be an excellent opportunity. I need the source. Yifan was full of desire. Half a month later, Yifan and the Black Emperor returned to the stone stronghold. This place was just like before, and there weren't many changes. This place was far from being rich and beautiful. The stronghold surrounded by reddish-brown stones was very desolate, and there was very little vegetation. This was merely a small oasis that spanned a dozen or so li. However, the people here were in a very good state of mind. They dug for source for a living, so they didn't have to worry about their lives. They could go to the distant oasis to exchange for daily necessities. Little brother Yi has returned, and there's also that Black Emperor. The people in the stone stronghold warmly greeted him, almost calling the big black dog by the wrong name. When they heard that they were going to move away from this place, many of the elders became silent. They had lived here for generations, and it was difficult for anyone to accept suddenly leaving. We have no choice but to move. In the future, this place won't be peaceful, and there will be a huge storm. Yifan patiently explained. In the end, he had no choice but to invite Jianghu over and briefly explain the situation of the Purple Mountain. Hearing that all the Holy Lands were coming, Jianghu's expression changed. He sighed and said, "Our ancestor told us to guard this place. Could it be that we have to leave now?" The Black Emperor stretched out his massive head and said, "Leave. Your clan will have great fortune in the future." Yifan had heard that the first ancestor of the Zhang clan, that Yuan Taoist master, had once said that if they stayed here to pay respect to the Purple Mountain, they would have great fortune in the future. For many people, completely leaving this place was a sad process. Yifan didn't rush them because there was still plenty of time. Even if the ancient scroll fell into the hands of the Holy Lands, it would be very difficult to have any results in a short period of time. The various parties were in a struggle, and they needed to constantly compromise and redistribute benefits. However, it was at this moment that the big black dog discovered something. When he ran over to the Purple Mountain to take a look, he actually discovered a human figure. Someone had already arrived. "Are you sure?" Yifan was shocked. This was really too fast. That person is extremely terrifying. "I only saw a shadow and he disappeared in a flash," the big black dog said in a low voice. The Black Emperor only vaguely saw that person wearing a Taoist robe, standing at the peak of the Purple Mountain, and then instantly disappearing, giving it a huge fright. Wearing a Taoist robe? Could it be that damn fatty has come? But wasn't he chased in the direction of the middle state? Yifan was puzzled. It's definitely not that fatty. He can't possibly be that fast. I remember those who have been bitten by me very clearly. This person is extremely terrifying. In the blink of an eye, he disappeared without a trace. Yifan felt that he needed to leave as soon as possible. This place was no longer peaceful, and this storm had arrived even faster than he had imagined. Hurry up and tell them to pack up quickly. I'm going to take a look outside. He left the stone stronghold and headed to Flat Rock City to gather information. In the end, he found out that the Holy Lands hadn't made a move yet, and the storm of the ancient scroll had yet to subside. What's going on? The Holy Lands have no future, yet someone has arrived first. It must be a supreme elite. Yifan secretly guessed that this person had definitely already viewed the ancient scroll. When Yifan returned, he saw the big black dog several dozen kilometers away from the stone stronghold. He asked curiously, "Why are you here?" An ox nose came and entered the stone stronghold. "I can't see through him and I'm afraid he'll harm me." "So you ran out?" Yifan was shocked. He was slightly worried about the people in the stone stronghold. "Don't worry. With his cultivation level, he definitely won't make things difficult for mortals. However, I don't know why he entered the stone stronghold. This Taoist you speak of, could it be the one we saw at the peak of the Purple Mountain?" "It's most likely that ox knows. Otherwise, how could there be two supreme elites in the same area?" The big black dog pondered for a moment, then said, "Go and see what he's doing." Yifan thought for a moment, and then changed his appearance, disguising himself as Wang Shu. Even his essence and aura were almost the same. Now he was about to leave this place. Wang Shu was not in the stone stronghold, and was purchasing the necessary resources in Flat Rock City. He returned to the stone stronghold in Wang Shu's appearance. The moment he returned, he saw that there were many people surrounding the stronghold, and many of them were discussing. "What's going on?" Yifan asked. "An old Taoist has come and he's very strange. He's taken a fancy to 5th Master Zhang's millstone, and he's also taken a fancy to Dumbo's millstone. He's planning to buy them. This old Taoist's eyesight is too poor. Even I can tell that the millstone and millstone definitely don't have source, and he actually wants to buy them at a high price. I really don't know what he's thinking." Yifan's heart suddenly jumped, and he hurriedly walked forward. There was an old Taoist in the crowd, and he wore an ancient Taoist robe. He looked quite old and his hair had even turned white from washing. This kind of clothing is a little different from the current era. Yifan's heart moved. The style of the Taoist robe was very ancient. His expression was calm, but he was actually shocked inside. In that instant, his spirit sense made him feel as if he was facing a slumbering primordial dragon. However, the spirit sense only flashed for a moment and he quickly lost that feeling. He was calm and there was nothing strange about him. This was an old Taoist with white hair that reached his shoulders, and he looked to be in his 60s or 70s. He was hale and hearty, and was currently earnestly looking at Dumbo's millstone. "I'll give you 5 kilograms of source and I'll take this millstone," the old Taoist said to Dumbo's parents. 5 kilograms? The surrounding people were all shocked. Even Yifan was a little puzzled. He was also seriously looking at the millstone, but he did not notice any abnormalities. In the end, the old Taoist bought the millstone and began to dissect it in front of everyone. Stone chips flew everywhere. He was very careful, as if he was afraid of damaging some precious treasure. He peeled off layer by layer and did not use a bold and decisive chop at all. However, in the end, the millstone turned into stone chips and nothing was cut out. The old Taoist frowned, stood up, and pointed at the stone millstone in front of Xianxia's house not far away. "I'll pay 10 kilograms of source for this millstone." "This?" The people in the stone stronghold were quite shocked. "Fifth Master, what's the origin of these stone millstones and millstones?" Yifan asked Jianghu in a low voice. "I've never heard of any origin." Jianghu frowned and thought carefully for a long time. "It's been used for generations and there's nothing special about it. In any case, I can't see any source in it." Suddenly Jianghu's expression changed, and he exchanged a glance with Yifan. They thought of the same possibility. Could these millstones and stone millstones have been left behind by their ancestors on purpose? One must know that the Zhang family's ancestors were not ordinary people, but an eccentric person of their generation. If they had been left behind by their ancestors on purpose, it must be extraordinary. With their eyesight they could not see anything special at all. Are there many of these stone tools in the stronghold? Yi Fan asked. The specifics have not been calculated. Jianghu's fingers were trembling. Could it be that the eccentric person had left behind the most ordinary stone blocks, millstones and stone millstones for his descendants? Yi Fan's heart trembled. Chapter 294. Just what was this old Taoist's background? The old Taoist's robes were clearly not from this era. They looked extremely ancient. This stone roller has been used by my ancestors until now. I don't plan on selling it. Jianghu tactfully refused. The old Taoist's skin was bronze in color, and his white hair draped over his shoulders. His body was dry but he was full of energy. His voice was like a golden bell, sonorous and forceful. I won't take advantage of you. I'll give you 25 kilograms of origin source as a base. Moreover, if you cut something out of the roller, I'll pay you according to the market price. Jianghu was a bit embarrassed. He had already seen that the old Taoist was not an ordinary person, and it would be inappropriate to refuse again. He muttered, "This, boom." At this moment, a loud sound came from the horizon. Smoke and dust rushed into the sky, and an extremely powerful energy fluctuation was transmitted. The Purple Mountain. The epicenter was the Purple Mountain, which was protected by the 9 dragon veins. Even from a distance one could feel the ground shaking there. The old Taoist quickly turned around and gazed at the horizon. His eyes were like 2 golden pearls, and his dry body was overflowing with a terrifying aura. At this moment he didn't seem like a person, but rather a colossus, like a barbaric dragon that hadn't appeared in 10,000 years. The people around him almost collapsed to the ground. Swoosh! The old Taoist flew into the sky. His Taoist robe spread out, almost sweeping up the entire stone stronghold. He pointed with his finger and the entire stronghold stabilized. Yi Fan's scalp went numb. This old Taoist strength was too frightening. Just now he had spread out his robe sleeves subconsciously, but it had such great power. The old Taoist turned into a gray mist and rushed toward the Purple Mountain, causing the sky to tremble as if a true dragon had crossed the sky. The eastern wasteland is too big. Experts come forth in large numbers, but not all of them come from the Holy Lands. There are many eccentric people who roam the great swamp and wild forests, Yi Fan said to himself. The eastern wasteland was boundless. It would take several years to fly from one end to the other. If an ordinary person walked on foot, they wouldn't even be able to cover half the distance in 100 lifetimes. On this vast land, there was the mysterious great wasteland that stretched for millions of miles. There was an endless lake that was as boundless as the ocean. There was an ancient palace that floated eternally in the sky. There was also the 100-herb garden that was left behind from the ancient times that could bring the dead back to life. Many sacred lords would leave the sacred grounds in their later years and choose to enter the great desolate. It wasn't strange for them to meet a peerless expert or an ancient character. What happened to the Purple Mountain? Many people in the stone stronghold were extremely nervous. Hurry up and pack your things. Get ready to leave this place at a moment's notice, Yi Fan urged. He hesitated for a moment, then soared into the air and flew toward Mount Purple. The Purple Mountain's aura was extraordinary. It stood majestically like a purple sword piercing through the clouds. There were many blade marks and axe marks on its surface, engraved with the marks of time. It was an enormous black flood dragon that was several hundred zhang long. It was unknown if this was its original body or if it deliberately extended its flood dragon body. It was terrifying to the extreme. It coiled around the peak of the Purple Mountain. Its black body was tightly bound like a steel wall that had been tempered hundreds and thousands of times. It was tightly bound to the mountain and couldn't be moved. The black flood dragon's body was covered in dense scales. Each scale was more than half a meter long and flickered with a black light. It was filled with a powerful feeling. This enormous creature was currently uprooting the mountain. It wanted to use brute force to break the mountain and open up this place. The commotion just now was caused by it. This black flood dragon has read the ancient scroll and found its way here. Yi Fan frowned. The sacred grounds hadn't arrived yet, but some powerful existences had already made their move. Duo. The old Taoist let out a light shout. His voice was like a golden bell, causing the void to tremble. On top of the Purple Mountain, the black flood dragon shook violently. Its enormous body seemed to have been smashed by a large hammer. It swayed continuously, causing the mountain peak to shake. Although the old Taoist was dry, he stood in the void and was full of pressure. It was suffocating as if he was a sleeping dragon. On top of the Purple Mountain peak, the enormous black flood dragon let out a low roar. It was like a mouse that had seen a cat. Its body trembled and curled up into a ball. Then it didn't dare to make a sound and flew away from the back of the mountain. At this moment, it didn't look like a giant black flood dragon that was several hundred zhang long at all. Instead, it was more like a loach that slithered away. Those hiding in the dark, come out. The old Taoist voice was calm, but there was a dignified aura that made people unable to resist. 3 old men appeared. Each of them was full of vitality like a great furnace. People could feel the terrifying fluctuations of life from them. Yifan was apprehensive. Before the arrival of the great sage, those who could read the ancient scroll were definitely unparalleled experts. "Who are you, Dao friend?" an old man asked. He had white hair and a youthful complexion. He had the aura of the great Tao and gave people an unfathomable feeling. "I've long since forgotten your name. You all should leave. This place isn't something you can have any ideas about." The old Taoist was extremely calm. He didn't show any anger, but he exuded an imposing aura. Even though he was a monk, he still made people's hearts palpitate. "Aren't you a bit too unreasonable? There is no master here, so what right do you have to let us leave?" The old man who spoke was extremely old. He was like the abyss of the great Tao and couldn't be fathomed. The old Taoist didn't say anything else. With a wave of his sleeve, crazy winds stirred up. The 3 white-haired old men were sent flying in the blink of an eye and immediately disappeared into the distance. This shouldn't be an old holy lord that entered the great wastelands after his lifespan came out, right? Yifan was shocked and had this thought. Chapter 295. The Violet Mountain was grand and majestic like a pillar that supported the heavens. It towered over the boundless scarlet land, displaying its majesty. The old Taoist stood in the air with his back to the Violet Mountain. He looked into the distance and said, "You all came out as well. Do I have to send you off one by one?" His eyes were a faint golden color and his body was as sturdy as copper. His ancient Taoist robes fluttered in the wind. He didn't have the demeanor of an immortal and instead resembled an immortal monarch. Chi. 2 rays of golden light shot out from his eyes. 5 figures were forced out of the distant sky, all of them in a sorry state. Apparently the old Taoist had no intention of injuring them. Otherwise these people would be in danger. Among them there were 4 old men. These people were too old and almost all of their teeth had fallen out. Moreover, they were emaciated, not to mention skin and bones. Their heads were very bald and only a few strands of hair remained. Almost all of them had fallen off. Yifan was shaken because he recognized these elders. He had seen them in the small world created by the ancient sages. They were the old subordinates of the Green Flood Dragon King and were nearing the end of their lifespans. Who would have thought that they would also come? There was also a middle-aged man in his 30s. He was tall and straight with sharp eyebrows. His face was as sharp as a knife and he exuded a heroic spirit. This was the eldest disciple of the Peacock King, Kong Teng. "May I ask which senior you are?" These old demons were nearing the end of their lives. Their status and strength were comparable to the supreme elders of the Holy Lands. They were extremely old, but after seeing the old Taoist they felt extremely uneasy. The pressure the old Taoist exuded was too great. He didn't seem like a human at all and was more like a terrifying bottomless pit. He calmly said, "Everything from the past has long been forgotten. All of you leave." The old Taoist didn't say anything else. He waved his sleeves and a gray mist filled the sky. With a rumble, everyone was swept away and disappeared into the horizon. Among them only Kong Ting wasn't sent flying. His body flickered with primal chaos as he dashed into the distance. Primal chaos, divine light. The old Taoist was somewhat astonished. He reached out and grabbed at the void. Buzz. The sky trembled and Kong Teng, who had already rushed into the distance, was immediately restrained. His expression changed as he shouted, "Old Taoist, what is the meaning of this?" Not only did he inherit the Peacock King's mysterious technique, but even his pride was somewhat similar. He didn't feel any fear and even attacked. Boom. Kong Teng flipped his hand and a large black seal appeared, shooting out tens of thousands of auspicious signs towards the old Taoist not far away. Chaos stones? Yifan's heart skipped a beat. Wasn't this the black stone in the great emperor's bedroom? Who would have thought that it would fall into the hands of the Peacock King and his disciple? As soon as the black seal appeared, it caused the pressure in the area to increase, making it hard for people to breathe. It quickly became larger, filling up the skies, a dark and boundless mass. An inconceivable force field appeared, locking down the void. Boom. The auspicious signs descended, as if the 9 heavens Milky Way was hanging upside down. The pressure was so heavy that it made one feel suffocated. Even if one was a powerful cultivator, if placed within it, they would still be crushed to pieces. However, the old Taoist priest was not affected. He was not afraid at all as he muttered to himself, "This is a wisp of innate killing intent extracted from a chaos stone." Ding. With a light tap of his finger, the black seal froze in place and quickly shrank. He grabbed it with his hand and it instantly appeared in his palm. Bang. The black stone seal shattered, turning into a ball of chaotic energy that lingered between the old Taoist's palm and fingers. Suddenly, a long roar sounded. A wisp of dense killing intent appeared in the chaotic energy. A multicolored peacock appeared, releasing blazing radiance, wanting to shatter that palm. "Youngest brother, it's you." The old Taoist priest revealed a strange expression. His palm flickered with radiance, fixing the multicolored peacock in place. "Your big brother Crimson Dragon." The multicolored peacock was a wisp of the Peacock King's divine will. It entered the chaotic energy to help its disciple when necessary. In the distance, Yi Fan's heart trembled. This old Taoist priest was the Peacock King's sworn big brother. As expected, he had a great background. "It's me. I came into being again, but I didn't expect to run into you as soon as I arrived in the northern region." The old Taoist nodded, letting go of the chaotic energy and the multicolored peacock. On the side, Kong Teng was stupefied. "Master's big brother, what kind of person was that?" "Big brother Crimson Dragon, where did you go? Why did you suddenly disappear 1,500 years ago? I thought you died." The Peacock King asked. Yi Fan was apprehensive. What kind of person was this? He disappeared for 1,500 years all of a sudden. It was said that the Peacock King had been cultivating for more than 2,000 years. This old Taoist priest was probably close to 3,000 years old. "It's a long story. I was trapped in the sacred cliff and almost died there. I was trapped for 1,500 years. The old Taoist priest sighed. "The sacred cliff? The cliff that was dyed black and red by the blood of the sacred body of the ancients?" The multicolored peacock looked surprised. "I couldn't find the blood of the sacred body of the ancients. Instead, I accidentally entered the formation carved by a great emperor and was almost refined to death." "Ha! I see that big brother Crimson Dragon has become more powerful now. One who survives a disaster is bound to have good fortune." The black peacock laughed. "After 1,500 years of meditation, I've finally gained some enlightenment. I'm a little stronger than before." The old Taoist priest smiled and nodded. "I was thinking that in this world, the person who wants to kill us silently hasn't even been born yet. How could big brother Crimson Dragon die?" The Peacock King laughed. "Brother, you've had a great opportunity. Judging from the innate murderous aura that was captured, you've obtained a natural seal of chaos. With it in your hands, the great sage lords will probably be worried. I just got it not long ago. I was just about to kill Sacred Lord Alcade. Big brother, come with me immediately. This time I plan to kill him." As expected, the Peacock King took away the stone of chaos. What shattered just now was just a wisp of essence of chaos, not the real body of the seal. "Should we leave immediately?" The old Taoist priest really wanted to return to the stone stronghold because the stone materials there shocked him. It might contain something he needed. "Yes, we'll leave immediately." The Peacock King's divine sense turned into a 16 or 17-year-old youth. He said, "I let the monster race cultivators come here to lure the Alcade Holy Lord who is in this area over. I'm going to intercept and kill him halfway. I think he's already received the news. We'd better leave quickly." "All right, I'll go with you." After the old Taoist priest said this, he swept his gaze over the surroundings. With a light shake of his sleeve, several dozen people, including Yi Fan, appeared. Most of them were small local cultivators. Because they heard the commotion, they came to check. At this moment, they were all trembling with fear. There weren't many people in this world who dared to kill a sacred lord. "You guys had better leave as soon as possible. This is not a place you can participate in." The old Taoist priest swept an indifferent gaze over them. "Big brother Crimson Dragon, we haven't seen each other for 1,500 years. Let's have a good chat on the way." With a flash of light, the Taoist priest and the Peacock King disappeared in the blink of an eye. Kong Ting also left quickly. "So someone who can fight against the sacred lord is this terrifying. It's really frightening." Yi Fan muttered to himself. Every time he saw someone of this level fight, he would have a new understanding. The more he understood, the more he felt that the great sage lords were terrifying. The large black dog appeared on the horizon, turning into a black light and running over. He cursed, "Hurry up and leave. This kind of ruthless person makes me feel a great danger." They quickly returned to the stone stronghold. At this moment, Wang Shu and the others had also returned. Time was pressing. To leave this place as soon as possible, Yi Fan discussed with them and put them into the pristine jade bottle. Then he took out the cauldron and stood in the sky. All the stones were put into the cauldron. With a rumbling sound, even the foundation was uprooted. The stones that the Red Dragon Taoist had his eyes on were definitely not ordinary. If it weren't for this old Taoist, who knew how many years it would have taken to learn the secrets of these stone tools, including the stone rollers, the stone piles, the foundation stones, and so on, a large pile of stones were all put into the cauldron. Suddenly this place became much more barren. At the same time, the Black Emperor had also finished carving the Tao pattern. They directly crossed the void and left this place first. Half a month later, Yi Fan appeared in Chu Prefecture. He found Tu Fei and asked him to help settle these people. As soon as they met, Tu Fei stormed over excitedly. "Where's the stove? Show it to me." Since he knew that the Little Rock, Yao Shi, and Yao Guang were subdued, he hated that he couldn't find Yi Fan immediately to see what was going on. Yi Fan didn't have a way to deal with him. He took out the stove and showed it to Tu Fei. "Haha." Tu Fei laughed, holding the stove in his hand and shaking it. He sent a message to the stove. "Yao Guang, Saint Child, Yao Shi, are you okay? I miss you a lot." Thought. The Li-Fire Divine Stove was shaken hard. It bulged up, shaking Tu Fei so much that his ears buzzed. Can this broken stove seal them? He slapped the stove hard, shaking the people inside. Yi Fan retrieved the stove and said, "It's not a problem to subdue them for 1 or 2 years. Hurry and find me a place to settle the people in the stone stronghold." Eventually, Tu Fei led him to a place called Hao Prefecture. This oasis was several thousand miles wide. It was his grandfather's territory. It wasn't a problem to settle dozens of families there. They just needed to find a place with verdant hills and limpid water. The environment was much better than the stone stronghold. "Hey, you don't need to carry stones when you move, right?" Tu Fei gawked, dropping his jaw. It was because the big pile of stones was like a small mountain. They looked ordinary and nothing special. The people in the stone stronghold were satisfied with this beautiful place. Since they had bought a lot of materials, they didn't lack anything. They just needed to build a house. The villagers were excited. They were all enthusiastic about building a new house. Yi Fan directly secluded. 10,000 kilograms of spring was enough for him to enter the third sky of the Tao Palace. For 1 whole month he was immersed in an ethereal state. His body was changing magically. The Western Emperor's scripture was marvelous. Yi Fan urged it quietly. He felt so incredible. During this month he could hear the passing self chanting. Inside the Tao Palace there seemed to be Buddhist chants. The sounds of ancient sacrifices tore through space and time, drifting through the air. Although he was born in the present, there was a me living in the past. Some people thought that the passing self was chanting for the present. Of course, many people didn't agree with this. The top characters believed that it was the Tao self. The side of one's Tao nature was capturing traces of the Tao and stirring the great Tao of the world. Whether it was the passing self or the Tao self, during this month, they were stirring the world to nourish the life Lord, allowing the me of this life to be immortal. During this month, the 5 energies in Yi Fan's Tao Palace were like dragons that danced in the air. He listened to the sonorous sounds of the great Tao. His body glowed, constantly transforming. After the 30th day, the Western Emperor's scripture stopped circulating. The essence energy in the sky crazily rushed down, completely submerging Yi Fan's seclusion area. This continued for 3 days. With a loud boom, rocks shot through the air. Yi Fan stood up, his eyes shooting out 2 beams of divine light in the shape of dragons. His black hair draped over his shoulders as he stood tall. His body was filled with great power. He felt as if he could kill a dragon with 1 punch. He had an inexhaustible amount of power. Chapter 296. Yi Fan's golden fist was full of power. When he waved it gently, the void buzzed and trembled. He had the illusion that he could kill a real dragon. The 1,000-meter-tall waterfall poured down. It was white and rumbling. Yi Fan stood in the pool and punched upward. The waterfall flowed backward like an upside-down white ribbon. He broke through his original realm after a month of closed-door training. The sacred body of the ancients is indeed terrifying. Tu Fei was speechless. Yi Fan lifted a huge rock that weighed tens of thousands of kilograms with 1 hand. He turned sideways and threw it with all his strength. The rock shrunk quickly and disappeared into the sky. At the end of the horizon, a flock of wild geese flew by and were all smashed down. Tu Fei was dumbfounded. After a while he yelled, "What a beast! You smashed a flock of wild geese with a rock that weighed tens of thousands of kilograms. I've never seen a freak like you." Yi Fan's physique was too strong. He had the strength to move mountains. Who could withstand such a rock? Woof, woof, woof. In the distance, the angry barking of a dog came from 20 miles away. The Black Emperor howled, "Damn it! Is there any justice in this world? I can't even sleep and get smashed by a rock from the sky." Tu Fei was dumbfounded. When he heard the black dog's howl, he laughed wildly. "Woof, Tu Fei, just you wait. I know you did it." The black dog howled in the distance. "Damn it! It's none of my business." Tu Fei cursed. Yi Fan stood at the foot of the 1,000-meter-tall stone mountain and waved his golden fist. Buff, 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 buff. It was as if he was punching mud. Every punch went into the mountain easily. In the end, he swung his golden fist and punched hard into the mountain. What a beast! Tu Fei's jaw almost dropped. He took out an 8 trigrams bronze mirror with purple mist. He threw it forward and said, "Let me test your current cultivation." It was a purple bronze mirror. It was a weapon that only cultivators in the 4 ultimate secret realms could use. It was strong and solid. It fell like a purple mountain. Clang. Yi Fan flicked his finger. His golden finger struck the copper mirror, releasing a crisp ka sound. The 4 extreme treasured mirror unexpectedly cracked apart. It was as dazzling as fireworks as it shattered in midair. Purple splendor soared into the sky, and a powerful energy wreaked havoc in all directions, causing the waterfall to flow backwards and the stone mountain to shake. However, Yi Fan remained unmoved. Tu Fei screamed pathetically. "Is your body made of a holy treasure? My baby." He was extremely distressed. Although he had many weapons, it still hurt him to have one of them destroyed so easily. Yi Fan's vitality was like a raging river. He could feel how powerful his body was. After cultivating the Western Emperor Sutra, he had finally entered the 3rd heavens of the Tao Palace and cultivated the divine treasure of the liver. Of the 5 elements, he was of the wood attribute. However, he still hadn't cultivated to the god realm, so he didn't have the protection of the god realm like others. At the same time, he realized that he was cultivating against the 5 elements. His heart was of the fire attribute, his lungs of the metal attribute, and his liver of the wood attribute. He first cultivated the divine treasure of the heart, then the divine treasure of the lungs, and finally the divine treasure of the liver. Fire subdued metal and metal subdued wood. If there were no accidents, his next realm would be the divine treasure of the spleen. This was because the 5 elements were of the earth attribute, and would subdued earth. You don't need a weapon. Your body is stronger than any treasure. Tu Fei was envious. "I lack source. I need a large amount of source." Tu Fei's expression was complicated. He sighed and said, "As long as you have source, you won't have a bottleneck in the Tao Palace secret realm. You can advance by leaps and bounds. So, I want to borrow source. How much source do you have? Lend it to me and I will return it to you tenfold in the future," Yi Fan said seriously. He felt a sense of urgency. He wanted to enter the 4 extreme secret realm. "My little source isn't even enough to fill the gaps between your teeth. You should know that if you want to enter the 4th heavens of the Tao Palace, you need 50,000 kilograms of source. This is a dizzying number. How much source do you have?" Yi Fan really wanted to break through. "I have a little more than a cubic meter. About 4,000 kilograms. That's less than 5,000 kilograms. You're the descendant of a great bandit." Tu Fei rolled his eyes and said, "If a great bandit had a lot of source mines, he wouldn't be a bandit anymore. Plus, how would I dare to touch my grandfather's treasure house?" "Source is a big problem," Yi Fan said to himself. "You don't have to rush. I'll go out and help you gather 20,000 kilograms." Tu Fei planned to find Li Heishui, Lu Kou, Jiang Huiran, and Wu Zhongtian. "I have a useless body. It's not worth it for you to help me like this. I, Tu Fei, am not a pretentious person. To be honest, I have a feeling that you might be able to break the curse of the sacred body of the ancients. Think about it. If one day you become a complete sacred body of the ancients, I won't have to cultivate for the rest of my life. I can still roam the eastern barren territory and the central plains. As long as you're alive, my descendants can roam the world. A complete sacred body can live for tens of thousands of years. What if I'm stuck in the Tao Palace secret realm for the rest of my life?" Yi Fan asked. "If you can't break through, you can give me the myriad chi cauldron. I can fix the lid of the heaven-swallowing jar," Tu Fei said half seriously and half jokingly. Woof woof woof. The big black dog appeared on the horizon looking murderous. It was sleeping obediently, but it was beaten black and blue by someone. It was extremely displeased. "I'll leave now. I'll be back in a month at most, or half a month at least. 7 square yuan will be fine," Tu-Fei said and flew into the sky. The big black dog ran over with a dark face. He stared at Yi Fan with an unfriendly expression and said, "Why do I suddenly feel that you did it?" "What did I do?" Yi Fan pretended to be confused. "Stop pretending." "Damn it, a boulder weighing tens of thousands of kilograms fell from the sky and slammed me under it. Ordinary people can't do that." The big black dog's bald tail was about to reach the sky. Yi Fan refused to admit it no matter what. He managed to deceive him and avoid a battle between a man and a dog. The stone village had been rebuilt. It was located in the green mountains and clear waters. The houses were very beautiful, much better than before. The most important thing was the change of environment. Young girls and children were the happiest. They could soak in the clear spring every day and play, no longer facing the sandstorms like before. The stones outside the village were piled up into a small hill, but most of them were foundation stones. Yi Fan moved all the stones from the original stone village here, afraid that he would miss something. Yi Fan and Jianghu were busy, picking out the stone rollers, stone blocks and stone mills from the pile of stones. There were more than 50 stone tools in total. The big black dog was watching from the side, afraid that he would miss something good. "Old man, are you sure you want to cut it open?" Yi Fan asked. "Cut it? I want to see what my ancestors left behind," Jianghu answered calmly. Yi Fan cut 3 stone blocks, but they were all useless stones. There was nothing. Jianghu also cut open 4 stone locks, but there was also nothing. Could it be that we guessed wrong and that old Taoist made a mistake? The two of them looked at each other. "Why are you being so careful? Shatter them all in one breath. Be more straightforward," the big black dog urged. "Go away." Yi Fan glared at him. Suddenly a fragrance wafted out. It was like an orchid or musk, refreshing and intoxicating to the bones. "What's that smell?" As expected, a dog's nose was the most sensitive. The Black Emperor was almost lying on the stone roller, drooling. Something came out. Jianghui's expression was serious. He was cutting a stone roller, and the fragrance was seeping out from the cracks in the stones. Yi Fan was shocked. He threw down the millstone in his hand and moved closer to take a look. This was really strange. How could there be fragrance seeping out from cutting stones? Could it be that some sort of primordial creature was sealed inside? His finger flickered with a golden light, indicating for Jianghu to step back. He took the stone roller and the big black dog also stared at it. Chi. Stone fragments flew everywhere. Very soon, more than half of the outer layer of the stone roller had been peeled off, and Yi Fan discovered that there were traces of water seeping out. Jianghu had used a bit more force just now, and this stone roller was very brittle. A crack had appeared on it, and the traces of water had flowed out from this crack. The source of the fragrance had also come from it. "There's a treasure." The big black dog had a square head and large ears. His eyes were as big as copper bells and he stared at it attentively. Yi Fan carefully peeled off the stone and finally, he cut out a flesh fruit from the center of the stone roller. It was pink in color and looked a bit like a peach. It's meat." The big black dog was slightly dumbfounded. "What is this?" Yi Fan was puzzled. He had read the Book of Origin Heaven before, but he had never seen this kind of record. Jianghu was also slightly dumbfounded, feeling that this was inconceivable. The fragrance was coming from this flesh fruit. Its skin had already been broken, and half of the transparent liquid had flowed onto the stone roller. The fragrance assailed the nostrils, making one want to swallow it in one gulp. "It smells so good. Could it be the fruit of immortality?" The big black dog's eyes shone with a green light. When Jianghu heard this, his heart stirred and he said, "The ancestors said that the things sealed within the stone are not limited to the source. These should be rare and wondrous stones. The things inside are unpredictable." Yi Fan stared at these stone tools. There was no such record in the Book of Origin Heaven. This flesh fruit had surpassed the category of stone materials, and could only be classified as wondrous stones. Most likely, these things left behind by the Yuan Taoist master had an extraordinary significance. The color of this fruit has changed, and the fragrance has also faded. What's going on? Jianghui's expression changed. The pink flesh fruit gradually turned green, and the fragrance had indeed become much fainter. "Hurry up and eat it. Otherwise the spiritual essence will disperse." The big black dog was anxious. Yi Fan was somewhat uncertain. Could this thing be eaten? He dipped his finger in a drop of liquid and placed it in his mouth. In that instant he felt unbearably bitter, and he almost raised his head to the sky and howled. It was extremely bitter and his tongue instantly went numb. Then he felt as if the world was spinning and he almost fell to the ground. "Let me have a taste." The big black dog eagerly took it. With a crunching sound, he bit off a piece and swallowed it whole. Woof! Woof! In the next instant the big black dog seemed to be convulsing. He barked incessantly and spat with all his might. Then white foam came out of his mouth, and he lay on the ground and began to convulse. Jianghu was completely frightened. He had originally wanted to have a taste, thinking that it would be some kind of fleshy celestial fruit. But now it was as if he was avoiding snakes and scorpions. After an unknown amount of time, Yi Fan finally recovered. He was no longer dizzy and he asked in astonishment, "What fruit is this?" At this moment the big black dog had almost become a dead dog. Only his four limbs were still convulsing and he kept foaming at the mouth. Yi Fan examined him and felt that his life should not be in danger. However, his current state was quite terrible and he did not know when he would recover. He swept his eyes over the remaining stone tools, and for the first time, he felt the seriousness of the situation. These are all rare treasures left behind by the Yuan Taoist master. We have no idea what use they have at all. Let's not cut them anymore and wait until we understand them in the future before we act. Yi Fan vaguely felt that these might be extraordinary things. It was possible that the Crimson Dragon Taoist was looking for this kind of flesh fruit. This was most likely a priceless treasure. At this stage, without understanding it, they definitely could not act rashly. "This stone millstone has already been cut open by you. Let's cut it open and take a look." "Preserve the other stone tools," Jianghu said. Yi Fan nodded. He had already cut open several stone tools, but he had only cut out a flesh fruit. This millstone might not be able to cut out anything. But when he peeled off the stone skin and cut into the center of the millstone, tens of thousands of divine rays shot out. It was so dazzling that one could not open their eyes. Chapter 297. Yi Fan peeled off the stone skin. When he reached the center of the millstone, 10,000 streaks of divine radiance shot out like golden needles, making one unable to open their eyes. All of this happened too suddenly. Many layers of stone clothes fell to the ground, and the stone heart was like a small sun that couldn't be looked at directly. Tears flowed down uncontrollably. What kind of treasure is this? Could it be a divine spring? Jianghu turned his head to the side. His eyes were slightly swollen from the piercing pain caused by the divine radiance. Did he really cut out the source of God? This was also the first thought that came to Yi Fan's mind. His heart was thumping. What he lacked the most right now was energy. He narrowed his eyes and carefully observed it. This was a very small bead, only the size of a soybean. It was made of light and didn't seem like a tangible substance. It seemed like a small ball of the most divine light source. After completely peeling off the stone core, this speck of light actually didn't sink and instead floated in the air. It was extremely mystical, as if it was the origin of heaven and earth, making one couldn't help but approach it. Jianghu didn't dare to look directly at her. He observed her out of the corner of his eye, involuntarily reaching out with his rough old hand to touch her. All of this was a subconscious action. Even the big black dog, who had fainted and was twitching on the ground, was foaming at the mouth as it moved towards them, as if it was being summoned. Divine source. Yi Fan could already confirm that this was a source formed from the spiritual energy that had existed since the beginning of the world. It was a rare treasure in this world. It would never sink, and it possessed the purest and most original essence of heaven and earth. It made one involuntarily bow down to it. All of these were the characteristics of the source of God, and they were exactly the same as what was recorded in the Book of Origin. This was the first time that Yi Fan had come into contact with the source of God. The pure and holy aura that came from his fingertips made his entire body feel comfortable. It was as if he was bathing in the spring breeze, warm and comfortable. It was as if his body was being baptized. This was the divine source. It possessed unimaginable divine effects, and it was a divine object that even the Holy Lands would fight over. Every time it appeared, it would cause a huge commotion. However, this piece of God source was too small. It was only a tiny grain. Compared to the huge piece of God source that sealed the primordial creature, it was really insignificant. However, it was definitely a rare treasure. Once it was spread out, many people would fight over it. There were many different types of divine origin, and each had different effects. Yi Fan was not very familiar with them, and he had not touched upon the most profound of origin studies yet. This is definitely not worth 100,000 kilograms of origin source. Even though it was a divine source, its size was too small, far from enough. He needed 30 square meters to break through to the fourth heaven of the Tao Palace. A single divine essence could not solve the problem. This is the source of God. What did our ancestors leave behind? Jianghu muttered to himself. After he had come into contact with the divine source, he felt that his body had become much lighter, and his qi and blood had become much more vigorous. The divine source had a great effect on ordinary people. It was not like the sacred body of the ancients, which had a strong resistance. Legend has it that there are dozens of types of God source, and some of them have incredible effects. I really want to see all of them. Yi Fan looked at the remaining stoneware. Although he was very tempted, he did not plan to continue cutting. The preciousness of these stone tools probably did not lie in the small pieces of God's source. It was very likely that they were flesh fruits. If he continued cutting them now, it would be a waste. He did not know how to use them, so it would be a pure waste. After a long time, Yi Fan and Jianghu finally calmed down from the shock. After all, this was a divine source, and anyone who saw it for the first time would inevitably feel the same way. The Black Emperor had fainted. Otherwise he would have jumped up to rob it. He had always been thinking about the divine source. Jianghu had more or less heard about it. He knew that Yi Fan's physique was special and that he needed a large amount of origin for cultivation, so he asked him to keep the divine source. In the end, Yi Fan did not decline it. He indeed needed a large amount of origin, and he could only return the favor in the future. The pink fruit that was peeled from the stone tools had strong medicinal effects. The big black dog fainted for 5 days before gradually regaining consciousness. However, it still could not get up and it would twitch from time to time. Damn it, I've had 8 lifetimes of bad luck. What kind of bullsh** tea stone is this? The fruit it produces is extremely poisonous. Even a true dragon can be poisoned to death, it cursed as it twitched. Serves you right. Who told you to be so greedy and want to swallow it first? Yi Fan said. The big black dog had the urge to kill, but it could not stand up. Occasionally it would even spit out a mouthful or two of white foam. It was obvious that it would not be able to recover without half a month's time. Yi Fan studied it for a very long time, but he still could not figure out what use this fruit had. In the end he left it unsettled. In the end he left this beautiful place. Now he only had one thought, and that was to search for the origin and break through as soon as possible. Even if it was to rob a holy land, as long as there was a chance of success, he would not hesitate. He had a very strong sense of urgency. When Yi Fan came to the outside world, he heard many news. The disturbance in the ancient scroll became more and more intense. The Peacock King had almost succeeded in intercepting and killing the Alcade Divine Master. It had stirred up endless waves that shook the whole North region. If it were not for the Ji clan's Divine Master and the Alcade Divine Master traveling together, a shocking change would definitely have occurred. Even so, they still paid the price in blood. Several grand elders of the Ji clan and the Alcade Divine Master had been beaten into ashes by the Crimson Dragon Taoist. The Alcade Divine Master had even been hit by the Peacock King's chaotic treasured seal, and was not lightly injured. The impact of this matter was very great. No matter if it was the Crimson Dragon Taoist reappearing or the Peacock King wanting to kill the Master of the Holy Land, they were both extremely great waves. During the time that Yi Fan was in seclusion, the North region was in an uproar. The waves were turbulent, and every day was not peaceful. Now the Purple Mountain was no longer a secret. Many important figures already knew about it, but no one dared to act rashly. 9 dragons protecting a mountain was something that involved ancient emperors. Even peak-level experts would feel trepidation in their hearts. Of course, many cultivators were more tempted and wanted to find opportunities here. However, they were all waiting for a chance and no one was willing to make the first move. Many years ago, the tomb of the demonic beast emperor was too shocking. There were mountains of bones and seas of blood. Several great sage attacked one after another. The black pool was filled with corpses, but they still could not conquer the Yin tomb. They allowed it to sink into the ground and disappear. Having been taught a bloody lesson, the Eastern Wilderness experts naturally would not be as impulsive as the last time. Many holy lands gathered in the North region to discuss the Purple Mountain. It was inevitable that they would join forces. The Jade Pool meet was postponed indefinitely. The Purple Mountain's influence was too great, so everyone's attention was focused on it. Even before the Purple Mountain was opened, a storm was brewing. There were even holy lords that were injured. It was obvious how great the commotion would be. After understanding all of this, Yi Fan stroked his chin. All of this had something to do with him. After thinking of a way to send the ancient scroll out, he had indeed pierced through the heavens. How much is a divine source worth? Yi Fan could not estimate. Tu Fei needed to borrow 10,000 kilograms of divine source, so he had to think of a way to settle the rest himself. It was a massive number. Maybe it's really time to go to the holy city? Over the past few days, he had been studying the Origin Heaven book in preparation to go all out. The fire cloud state was as red as fire. There were fire cloud trees everywhere. This strange tree species was unique to the state. The fire cloud tree not only had leaves that were as red as fire, even the tree trunk was a reddish-brown color. From afar it looked like a sea of fire. It was more like a sunset, befitting its name. Ever since he entered the state, he had seen the most plants along the way. There were far more red plants than green. It could be described as a little green in a sea of red. This state was not very far from the holy city. It would take at most 11 to 12 days of travel. As Yi Fan traveled, his goal was clear. He wanted to go to the gambling Holy Land. Fire Cloud City was the center of the state. The city walls were majestic like the Great Wall. It was majestic and ancient. It was a rather famous city. Legend had it that there used to be a powerful family clan of the desolate East. It had a heritage of more than 100,000 years, but unfortunately, it had turned to dust tens of thousands of years ago, disappearing under the starry sky of history. It explained that there was no immortal heritage, nor was there an eternal family clan. Everything would come to an end one day. Just as he walked in front of the majestic city gates, Yi Fan saw two portraits of him. They were the arrest warrants of the Alcade and Ji family. The two great inheritances offered a sky-high bounty. Anyone who could provide relevant clues would be able to receive 10,000 kilograms of source. And if they could provide the exact location of Yi Fan, they would be able to receive 30 square meters of source, a whole 50,000 kilograms of source. It could be said to be a heaven-defying price. The central cities of all the oases had such bounties. Yi Fan was sick and tired of it. Who would be willing to be wanted and hunted down? As expected of the gambling Holy Land, there are tens of thousands of kilograms of source. He knew why he was so valuable. Besides the grudges between the two sides, the most important reason was that the other side wanted the myriad source chi in his body. If they could get it, even 1,000,000 kilograms of source would not be able to stop them. You want my cauldron in life with just 50,000 kilograms of source? What a good idea. Yi Fan stood in front of the city gates and sneered. On the horizon outside Fire Cloud City, dozens of mounts rushed over. These mutated beasts' feet did not touch the ground as they walked in the air. The knights on them were clad in shining iron clothes. They were Ji family's people. Damn it, there's almost no valuable information. I really don't know when we can find that Yi brat. If he dares to appear, I'll crush him with one hand. A young knight from the Ji family said coldly. The leading young man snorted and glanced at him, saying, Ji Yunting, don't underestimate him. Someone at the fourth heaven of Dao Palace might not be able to suppress him. Ji Yunting sneered and said, he's just an outdated, crippled body. What's so great about him? Even if someone at the same level can't beat him, I don't believe that someone at the fourth firmament of the Dao Palace can't smack someone at the second firmament of the Dao Palace to death. Damn it, this trash is hiding. If he dares to come out, I will trample him to death with one foot. Don't be arrogant. The Alcade Saint is so strong and the golden-winged little Peng King is so arrogant. Yet they were still taken away by him. The leading young man was very composed as he warned the other young experts. Ji Yunting was unconvinced as he said, that's because the Chaos Gems fixed the people present in place. If not, how can a tiny trash like him take away the top young experts of the four extreme mystic realm? If he really dares to come out, I will kill him with one finger. Another expert from the Ji family's younger generation was also filled with anger. They were in charge of searching in the Fire Cloud State. Over the past few days they had been suppressing their anger and were filled with resentment. They wished they could immediately find Yi Fan. This kid made us go through the wind and rain to search for clues every day. I really wish I could slap him to dust. This Yi kid is just a trash, yet he has caused such a stir. He better not let me catch him or I will crush him like a bug. These young experts were filled with resentment as they rode their mounts into the city. A sneer suffused across Yi Fan's lips as he said, a bounty of tens of thousands of pounds, why don't I claim it myself? Using the enemy source to fulfill his bottomless pit was the most ideal. With a flick of his sleeves he entered Fire Cloud City with a flash. Chapter 298. The streets of Flaming Cloud City were very old. The blue stone on the ground was full of potholes, which was the result of pedestrians stepping on it. One could imagine how old it was. The city was full of life and everywhere was fiery red. The people of this state loved the fire cloud trees. They were like huge torches on both sides of the road, like fire dragons lying on the side of the street. Yi Fan walked on the street, very relaxed like an ordinary person. He was touring the ancient city with a completely casual look. In the past, this city had produced the clan of the ancients. Although it no longer existed, there would be some young cultivators coming here every year, hoping to obtain some kind of inheritance. Unfortunately, the eternal family that had existed for hundreds of thousands of years had become the dust of history, leaving nothing for future generations. Yi Fan was not in a hurry to act. He did not go to find the Ji family. Instead, he walked along the ancient street and carefully observed the city. He felt the heaviness of time. This was the accumulation of time and time. The ancient city was indeed extraordinary. It had experienced so much time that it made people feel a kind of heaviness. The city was very prosperous, worthy of being the center of this oasis, but it was not noisy. On both sides of the wide ancient street, the firecloud trees sprinkled a large area of shade. There were many pedestrians, but it was not crowded. For a long time Yi Fan had been cultivating. Occasionally he would relax and wander around the ancient city, feeling a little ethereal. The people coming and going could not affect him. He went with the flow and walked on the ancient street aimlessly. He became more and more relaxed, and his spirit and spirit became one. He actually entered a wonderful state. Yi Fan's clothes were not stained by a speck of dust. He was light and elegant. Every movement of his seemed to be one with the world. He walked in the crowd, but it was so natural. Every step he took produced a trace of Tao. In the palace, the passing self was chanting for this life. The Tao self was connecting the world, comprehending the great path, and nourishing the life lord. The mental cultivation method recorded in the Western Emperor's scripture ran on its own. At the same time, Yi Fan's golden sea of bitterness fluctuated. A green lotus trembled and the mist was hazy. The secret technique obtained from the remains of the sacred body of the ancients, combined with the Tao scripture, ran on its own. At this moment, the profound arts ran parallel to each other, harmonizing with nature. The sea of reincarnation and the Tao palace pulsed, and divine power flowed from top to bottom, making him feel as if he was connected to the heavens and the earth, as if he was flying through the clouds. Yi Fan was as ethereal as the Tao. Although he was standing in the sea of people, he seemed to be standing in the clouds, giving off a sense of transcendence. He knew that this was a kind of wondrous profound realm. It was a kind of comprehension towards cultivation. The sea of reincarnation and Tao palaces resonated in harmony, allowing his Tao energy to grow endlessly. Yi Fan walked all the way down and unknowingly arrived at a special place in the city. This place was the center of the city, but there were no magnificent buildings. There were many ancient trees planted here, and it wasn't limited to the firecloud tree. There were all kinds of evergreen trees and ancient vines. Many of the old trees would require more than 10 people to wrap their arms around them. The ancient vines were as thick as a person's waist. It was truly astonishing to find such a place in the center of a city. These were the traces left behind by the clan of the remote antiquity in the past. There were many rubble under the old vines, recording the rise and fall of the clan in the past. In truth, the entire ancient city used to be a corner of the clan of the remote antiquity, but unfortunately everything no longer existed. There were only some ruins left under the ancient trees. Yi Fan very naturally walked to this place. His body and mind were ethereal. Although he couldn't break into the fourth heavenly layer of the Tao palace, he was able to experience a kind of nature. The world was born for him and all things were one. He was undergoing a kind of baptism. His body shimmered and his mind was filled with energy. His body and mind were tempered and sublimated, allowing his original realm to approach perfection. He was still at the third heavenly layer of the Tao palace, but he felt very different. The sea of reincarnation and the pulse of the Tao palace were in sync and he could grasp traces of the Tao. Yes, the Tao scripture and Western Emperor Sutra had blended in harmony for the first time. It caused his body and mind to become clear. Every movement he made seemed to be waving the great Tao. The sea of reincarnation and the Tao palace resonate in harmony. The Tao scripture and the Western Emperor Sutra exist side by side, flawless and without flaw. As expected, these are the two strongest heart methods. Yi Fan broke out of this wondrous state and muttered to himself. He felt that after the two sutras harmonized, his combat strength had increased by a great deal and he was even closer to the great Tao. He gently gestured. Although he hadn't truly struck out with the offensive arts of the 9 secrets, he could sense that their might had increased by a great deal. This was a small transformation from a technique to the Tao. The power of the Tao. Yi Fan followed the ancient street and left this place. He walked around the ancient city and after obtaining enough information, he left Flaming Cloud City and vanished into the horizon. Not long after, Yi Fan returned to Flaming Cloud City and walked towards the Ji family's stone gambling den. This was a building built in a garden and dozens of knights lived here. What? Someone provided a clue? This garden occupied a very large area. Stone materials were piled up and there were palaces and pavilions. Dozens of strange beasts were tied up in the garden, each of them fierce and fierce. Yi Fan stood in the garden. He didn't have to wait for too long before dozens of youths rushed out. They had all met outside the city gates. You saw that cripple. Where is he? How far is he from Flaming Cloud City? Asked the young man in the lead. His name was Jianghu and he was a cultivator at the fifth firmament of the Dao Palace. He was the leader of this group of people and he was very calm. If I provide a clue, do you want to immediately give me 100,000 kilograms of source? Asked Yi Fan. What are you talking about? A disciple of the Ji family glared at him and said coldly, providing a clue is just 10,000 kilograms of source. You really dare to demand such an exorbitant price from my Ji family? When the people beside him heard this, they were delighted. Jianghu sneered and said, this Yi brat has finally been discovered. This time I will turn him to dust. That's how it should be. For a cripple like him, he made us run around so much but to no avail. We should have killed him long ago. He's just a cripple at the second firmament of the Dao Palace. Killing him is as easy as pie. It's just that we can't find his whereabouts. This time we will refine him to death. These people were filled with resentment. All of them wanted to immediately kill Yi Fan and snatch the cauldron away. It wasn't only because they had been searching for him in the past few days, but also because the Ji family's grand elder had been burned to death. It made everyone feel stifled. It would have been fine if he had been killed by a powerhouse, but a dignified grand elder had been burned to death by a puny cultivator. It made them feel humiliated. The most effective way to wash away this humiliation was to kill Yi Fan. Yi Fan asked for 10,000 kilograms of source so that they could fulfill their promise. Bring us to that mountain range first. If the clues are true, you will naturally be rewarded. Jianghu smiled. Many people revealed looks of disgust. They never expected him to really dare to ask for a reward from the Ji family. It surprised them and at the same time they despised him. They had received some clues before, but they were all provided by cultivators for free. They did not dare to ask for source stones and only wanted to form a closer relationship with them. I saw that the reward is written very clearly. As long as you provide a clue, you will be rewarded with source stones. Yi Fan did not back down. What if the clue you provided is fake? Jianghu sneered disdainfully. In this world, is there anyone who dares to play tricks on the Ji family? Besides, I want to bring you guys there. Am I not afraid of losing my life? Yi Fan argued. You are really interesting. Jianghu's expression was cold. He had already said it like this, yet he still dared to ask for source stones. Did he not want to live too long? Alright, we don't have time to waste. Go to the stone square and get 5,000 kilograms of source stones. Jianghu waved his hand and ordered someone to get the source stones. He said, if the clues are true, I will give you the other half of the source stones. If we can catch Yi Fan because of your clues, it won't be a problem to give you 100,000 kilograms of source stones. Not long after, someone brought over 5,000 kilograms of source stones. They shone brightly and were placed in a pile. Yi Fan did not stand on ceremony and kept them all with a wave of his sleeve. Now bring us to that mountain range. Jianghu sneered, the killing intent in his eyes flashing. Jianghu smiled slightly and did not say anything. He waved his hand and ordered everyone to ride on their strange beasts. At the same time, they also found a savage beast for Yi Fan to sit on as a means of transportation. Dozens of riders rushed out of Fire Cloud City. Many people in the city were surprised. Seeing them in such a hurry, they knew that something big must have happened. These strange beasts were all extraordinary. After leaving Fire Cloud City, they all stepped on the air and flew high into the sky. Like a flood rushing across the sky, they rumbled and rushed towards the mountain range that Yi Fan mentioned. It's that mountain range in front. Yi Fan pointed to a lush mountain range in front of them. Dozens of riders immediately spread out and surrounded the mountain peak that Yi Fan pointed to. There really is someone cultivating here. There are Dao patterns here. A Ji family disciple came forward. He was quite knowledgeable about Dao patterns and quickly broke the restriction. Dozens of riders were filled with killing intent. They rushed up and came to the peak of the mountain. They directly split open the cave abode, causing smoke and dust to soar into the sky. There's no one. Immediately, a Ji family disciple revealed killing intent and looked at Yi Fan. Don't look at me like that. It has nothing to do with me. I only provided a clue. Who knew that he would suddenly leave? Yi Fan was very innocent. Jianghu waved his hand and personally entered the cave abode to observe. The others also followed. This robe is exactly the same as the one he wore that day. It really is him. Look, there are traces of the giant void palm print here. This cave abode was opened with a giant palm print. The Ji family disciples quickly discovered many important clues. They were all filled with hatred and gritted their teeth. Damn it, we let him escape again. Otherwise I would have trampled him to death with a single stomp. They felt suffocated. A trash with only a cultivation at the second firmament of the Tao Palace had repeatedly stirred up such a storm and was able to escape each time. They wished they could immediately capture him and burn him to ashes. Now do you believe me? I definitely wouldn't dare to provide false clues. Yi Fan said from the side. At this moment he felt killing intent. Someone wanted to deal with him. However, he did not panic. With a calm expression, he said, "When we return, you can pay me the other 2,500 kilograms of source, right? Aren't you afraid that we will kill you here?" Ji Yunting sneered. "Before I came, many people in Fire Cloud City knew that I left the city to provide you with clues. I believe that the Ji family is trustworthy." Yi Fan did not care. Even if there were powerhouses at the fifth firmament of the Tao Palace among these people, their speed was definitely not as fast as his. There was no need to worry that he would not be able to escape. Jianghu smiled and said, "When we return, I will pay you the other 2,500 kilograms of source. The Ji family will keep their word." After lingering here for a long time and searching the entire mountain range, everyone returned to Fire Cloud City. Yi Fan followed them into the garden. This guy must have eaten the guts of a leopard. He really dares to ask for a bounty. A disciple of the Ji family said coldly. Jianghu glared at him and said, "This is the bounty set by the Ji family. Don't mess around. If I find out that you have damaged the family's reputation, don't blame me for not letting you off." Not long after, the 2,500 kilograms of source was brought. Jianghu walked out and personally handed it to Yi Fan, letting him leave. Yi Fan thanked him with a smile on his face and left without looking back. Giving him 10,000 kilograms of source just like that? The clues he provided are useless. He didn't even see the shadow of that Yi guy. Someone was indignant. Jianghu swept a few glances at them and said, "The people of Fire Cloud City are watching. Do you want to kill him here? This is not without its benefits. It is like buying a bone with 1,000 gold. In the future, someone will send us even more valuable clues." At this point, Jianghu's expression froze. He said, "Where did Ji Yunting and Ji Yunbiao go?" "They followed him out, most likely." "Nonsense, if word of this gets out, how will others look at my Ji family?" Jianghu was furious. With Ji Yunting's temper, he definitely can't stand it. He doesn't want him to take away 10,000 kilograms of source just by talking. I think he has most likely killed him now. Another disciple of the Ji family said. Jianghu smashed a stone table in the garden with his palm. After a moment of silence he said, "Since it has already come to this, let's send a few more people. Make things more beautiful. I don't want any rumors to spread." On the outskirts of Fire Cloud City, Yi Fan stopped in his tracks. He turned around and said with a smile, "Friends of the Ji family, why are you so enthusiastic? You've already sent me out of the city, why haven't you returned?" Swish swish. Ji Yunting and Ji Yunbiao's figures flashed out from the shadows. Both of them were filled with killing intent as they pressed forward step by step. "You want to kill me, why is that?" Yi Fan's face darkened. He looked at the two of them and said, "I kindly provided you with clues, why do you repay kindness with enmity? Brat, do you think it's so easy to take my Ji family source? Just by moving your lips, it's 10,000 kilograms of source. How can there be such a good thing?" Ji Yunting sneered. "You guys are too cold by nature. No matter what, I'm the one who provided the clues, yet you guys want to kill me. So what if we kill you? You brought us to an empty cave abode and took away the source just like that. Don't you feel that it's a bit troublesome?" Ji Yunbiao was filled with killing intent. Yi Fan suddenly laughed out loud, looking very carefree. "You're about to die, what's there to laugh about? I'll send you on your way. Do you guys think you can kill me?" A cold smile hung on the corner of Yi Fan's mouth and he said, "I'm afraid you'll lose your lives here. You've only just entered the Tao Palace secret realm. You dare to compete with the bright moon with the light of a firefly?" Ji Yunting sneered again and again, revealing his killing intent. "Killing you is no different from crushing a bug to death." Ji Yunbiao rushed over and slapped down with a giant void handprint. The giant black hand covered the sky, covering Yi Fan beneath it, making a rumbling sound. At this moment Yi Fan attacked. A giant golden palm swept across the sky, smashing the giant black hand and covering Ji Yunbiao, whose face was filled with horror. It was hard to imagine how powerful the giant golden palm was. It directly smashed Ji Yunbiao into pieces, smashing him into minced meat and making him disappear. "Who are you?" Ji Yunting shouted. A powerhouse at the third firmament of the Dao Palace had been killed by a single slap. It really made him shudder. "I'm the Yi Fan you said you could crush with one foot." "What? How could it be you?" Ji Yunting retreated in shock, his face extremely livid. "Haha." Yi Fan laughed and said, "Of course it's me. Thank you for giving me the source. I'll use it to cultivate you." When Ji Yunting heard this, he thought about everything that had happened. He was so angry that his body trembled and his fingers trembled. Chapter 299. Ji Yunting's face was ashen. He was so angry that his body was trembling. He never thought that Yi Fan would be so daring as to do such a thing. He was wanted by two great sage, yet he dared to take the risk and come to the Ji family to falsely claim the bounty. This made him so angry that the veins on his forehead bulged. Anger is bad for the body. Don't be in such a hurry. You are a big family and don't care about such a small amount of resources. Yi Fan laughed. "Yi, you are too arrogant. Two great sage are trying to capture you, yet you dare to come out and cheat us of our resources. You will not live. The clan of the ancients cannot be blasphemed against." Ji Yunting said coldly. Yi Fan's smile did not diminish. "What can you do? Do you want to kill me? I will crush you with one hand." Ji Yunting's body bloomed with auspicious light. Divine power surged and dragon energy wrapped around his body. He raised his cultivation to the limit. How domineering, how bold. Then let me see how heroic the young powerhouses of the clan of the ancients are. Yi Fan sneered. "I will kill you now." Ji Yunting shouted and then silently disappeared into the void. He had used the Great Void technique. Swish. What was unexpected was that even though he spoke viciously, he appeared in the distance, not rushing towards Yi Fan. Ji Yunting chose to flee, his speed extremely fast. He had said all these harsh words in order to stabilize Yi Fan and prepare for his escape. Although he was conceited and had always believed that the Huanggu families reigned supreme, after seeing Yi Fan kill Ji Yunbiao, who was at the third firmament of the Dao Palace, with a single slap, he immediately knew that even though he was at the fourth firmament of the Dao Palace, he was still no match for Yi Fan. "Why do your words and actions contradict each other?" Yi Fan's face was filled with a warm smile as he blocked Ji Yunting's path. "You." Ji Yunting was shocked. Yi Fan had started later but arrived first. He was even faster than him. Swish. Ji Yunting used the Great Void technique once again and disappeared. He was proud and conceited, but he did not want to die. He used everything he had to escape. However, when he rushed out of the void again, he found that Yi Fan was still blocking his way with a cold smile on his face. "Aren't you tired? What's the point of running around? The one with the surname Yi, you're too arrogant. You've offended the two great sages' lands. There will be no way for you to live in the future." Ji Yun retreated quickly. "I was just planning on traveling around. Breaking into the fourth firmament of the Dao Palace requires 50,000 kilograms of spring. I'll be counting on your Ji family and the light-shaking realm to provide it for me." Yi Fan took his time and caught up to him in a dozen steps. His millstone-sized golden palm slapped down, not giving him any chance to escape. Chi-chi. 5 streaks of silver light shot up like 5 silver dragons soaring across the sky. They were as thick as a house. The silver dragons crossed each other and formed a pair of dragon scissors, cutting off Yi Fan's golden hand. It was the ultimate art of the Ji clan, sky-severing finger. It was extremely powerful, but unfortunately, it depended on who was using it. When comparing his battle strength with Yi Fan, he was at an absolute disadvantage. The 5 dragon beams were shattered by the golden palm. The hand came crashing down, and with a cracking sound, Ji Yunting's expression changed drastically. His arm was torn to shreds on the spot. "Ah!" He roared into the sky and used all his strength to strike out another divine technique recorded in the Void Scripture. He opened his mouth and spat out a breath of great Tao energy that rushed at Yi Fan. This was the innate Great Void Stellar Qi recorded in the Void Ancient Sutra. It was formed by the user's innate Qi mixed with the Void. It was invincible and not even divine weapons could block it. One could clearly see that a stream of air rushed out of Ji Yunting's mouth. It represented the innate Great Void as it distorted the Void. Dang! In response, Yi Fan did not dodge at all. He swung his golden fist and it was as if he had struck a falling star. The sound was deafening. Wong! The innate Great Void Stellar Qi that was said to be invincible was instantly scattered. The divine light was blinding as it transformed into a torrent that surged in all directions, causing the entire void to tremble. Pooh! The mountain peak under their feet was only a few dozen meters away from here. It was affected and was cut off 3 to 4 meters high by the scattered innate great void stellar chi. Jianghu's face was flushed red. He had used up 80 to 90% of his divine power, but it was defeated by a single punch from his opponent. It was really hard for him to accept. Strange art, you should see who is using it. Everyone in the younger generation of the Ji clan seems to have mastered 2 or 3 secret arts recorded in the Void Ancient Sutra. Can you explain them to me? Yi Fan pressed forward. You brat, don't be too proud. I Jianghu have countless geniuses. There are many people in the younger generation who are enough to suppress you until you can never raise your head again. You won't have a way out. Jianghu gritted his teeth. In the future, I will find those geniuses you mentioned. Yi Fan's palm slapped forward. Bam! Jianghu dodged, but he was not fast enough for the golden hand. He was slapped on his body like a broken drum. His body was in tatters as he fell to the ground. You brat, what do you want to do if you don't kill me? I want to learn from you about the Void Ancient Sutra. Yi Fan landed on the ground with a gentle smile on his face. Dream on. Jianghu gritted his teeth. Suddenly Yi Fan raised his head and looked towards the distant horizon. For figures whose feet didn't touch the ground were like flying immortals. Their clothes fluttered as they quickly approached. He mocked, your Ji clan really thinks highly of me. You send another 4 people. You want to clean up the mess beautifully without leaving any traces. Bam! Yi Fan stepped out and sent Jianghu flying. Many of the bones in his body were broken and he laid on the ground motionless. He couldn't even speak. Jianghu was incomparably ashamed and angry. He said that he could trample the other party to death with 1 foot, but in the end he fell into such a situation. The other party didn't kill him because he wanted to steal the divine arts recorded in the Void Ancient Sutra. Swoosh! Yi Fan opened his sleeves and created a large crack on the ground. He then waved his sleeves and buried Jianghu inside. Not long after, the 4 figures on the horizon arrived. Dust didn't rise and they stopped in an instant. 4 pairs of eyes were like 8 sharp swords as they stared at Yi Fan. Is there anything else? Less nonsense, where did Jianghu and Jianghu go? One of them had a premonition that the situation wasn't good and asked with a gloomy face. That's your Ji clan's people. What does it have to do with me? Why are you asking me? Yi Fan's expression was calm. They chased after you. How could they disappear? That person shouted. Oh, why did you chase after me? Yi Fan asked calmly. The 4 of them pressed forward. One of them had a cold expression and said, stop talking about him. Tell me, where are Jianghu and Jianghu? Don't yell at me. Do I have the obligation to look after them for you? Yi Fan's expression turned cold. The 4 people from the Ji clan all felt that something was wrong. They all retreated to prevent any accidents from happening. They were prepared to fight and retreat. However, one of them was still very arrogant and shouted, stop pretending and tell me where they are. Otherwise, you know the consequences. Pop. Yi Fan suddenly waved his sleeves and directly slapped the Ji clan's disciple back. He said coldly, who are you saying is pretending and what are the consequences? You. The Ji clan's disciple's expression changed. He pointed with his finger and said, you dare to attack me first? The disciples of the clan of the ancients, no matter where they went, were surrounded by people like stars surrounding the moon. Very few people dared to offend them. Who do you think you are? So what if I attack you? Yi Fan laughed coldly. He waved his sleeves and an iron cloud swept over. Pow! The wide sleeves were like iron plates. They swept through the void and firmly covered the Ji clan's disciple. The Ji clan's disciple used his arm to block, but it was useless. He was sent flying. Bang! The Ji clan's disciple was enraged. He soared into the sky and stood in the air. His eyes were filled with coldness and endless killing intent. Following that, he swooped down with his head down and feet up. The void palm fiercely pressed down. The black palm was like a black wall pressing down, causing people's hearts to palpitate. However, Yi Fan didn't move at all. He didn't dodge at all. He raised his head and stared at the Ji clan's disciple. Only when the black palm was right in front of him did Yi Fan stretch out his left hand and grab it. Retreat! The 3 people behind him shouted, reminding the Ji clan's disciple. Bang! However, it was already too late. Yi Fan single-handedly caught the void palm. His other hand pierced through the air and grabbed the Ji clan's disciple. He pulled him down from the sky effortlessly as if he was grabbing a little chick. Pow! He raised his hand and directly slapped the Ji clan's disciple's face, causing his saliva to splatter and blood to flow. Do you want to be enemies with the Ji clan? The Ji clan's disciple spat out a mouthful of blood. So what if I attack the Ji clan? Do you really think that the Ji clan is the Eastern Baron Emperor? Yi Fan laughed coldly. He raised his hand and slapped him again, causing blood to spurt out from his nose and mouth. The three behind weren't as rash as this person. They saw that something was wrong from the start and pulled away from Yi Fan. They could choose to fight or retreat. Right now they didn't choose to help. Instead they turned around and left decisively. They had a premonition that they weren't Yi Fan's match. Unfortunately it was too late. Swish, swish, swish. Yi Fan took out dozens of small flags and stabbed them into the ground. Fog surged and covered this place, cutting off their path. These were all artifacts made by the Black Emperor, and there were complicated Dao patterns carved on them. The cultivators in the Dao Trapping Palace secret realms wouldn't be surprised. Yi Fan picked up the disciple of the Ji family and slapped him hard in the face. He hit him so hard that he could barely breathe. Then he threw him on the ground like a dead dog. The other three's expressions completely changed. A disciple at the third firmament of the Dao Palace couldn't resist at all. He was slapped more than a dozen times and trampled to the ground. It made their hearts go cold. Friend, why do you have to do this? Jianghu has always been rash and hot-tempered. He often offends people. If he made you unhappy just now, I apologize on his behalf, one of them said. Jianghu, who was bleeding from his mouth, groaned and struggled to get up, but he didn't dare to spout nonsense again. Fear appeared in his eyes. He knew that he had gotten into big trouble. The other three felt uneasy. It was extremely dangerous to be sealed here. Friend, this is all a misunderstanding. You provided clues for my Ji clan to hunt down the thief Yi Fan. We are the same kind of people and we are very grateful to you. Jianghu, hurry up and apologize. I've always warned you not to be rash, but you've caused trouble again today. I'll punish you when we get back. The three smiled and explained. At the same time they asked Jianghu to apologize. Yi Fan smiled and said, "There's no need to apologize because I'm the Yi Fan you're looking for." What? The four were all shocked. When Yi Fan revealed his true body and pulled out Jianghu, who was buried in the crevice, the four's expressions changed. They were so angry that they almost vomited blood. What do you want? I'm very interested in the innate great void astral chi. I want to learn from you. Chapter 300. You want to obtain the divine skill recorded in the scripture of the void? Stop dreaming. The people of the Ji clan had ugly expressions. This person was actually Yi Fan. He'd swindled 10,000 kilograms of resources from them and now he wanted the void ancient scripture? Why do you have to be so selfish? I also have ancient scriptures here. Why don't we sit down and discuss them? Yi Fan smiled. There are only a few ancient scriptures in the Eastern Barren territory. The Ji clan has one. What scriptures do you have to discuss? One of them said. He wanted to stall for time and wait for help. I have a Dao scripture and a Western Emperor scripture. Which one are you interested in? Yi Fan knew what they were planning but he didn't care and asked casually. What? You also have scriptures? Not only do you have the Dao scripture, you also have the Western Emperor scripture. How did you get them? The people of the Ji clan were shocked. They believed that under such circumstances Yi Fan had no need to lie. They were sealed here and everything was under his control. So, you won't lose out if you discuss scriptures with me. How about it? Yi Fan's smile was very wide. First, recite a scripture for us to listen to, the people of the Ji clan requested. How can we do that? Why don't we all recite scriptures at the same time? Yi Fan asked. The tense atmosphere instantly eased. The people of the Ji clan relaxed and started to stall for time with Yi Fan. Yi Fan had a harmless expression on his face as he seriously discussed with them. But suddenly, a golden beam of light shot out from his forehead and shot into one of their heads. He didn't want to kill them. He just wanted to suddenly attack and steal their scriptures with his divine sense. He was afraid that he wouldn't be able to under normal circumstances. Not long ago in the Cloud Mountain range, he had tried to steal a disciple's memory but the disciple's divine sense suddenly collapsed. The head of the Ji clan's disciple instantly exploded. Yi Fan's divine sense escaped in a sorry state and rushed back into his glabella. Boom. A destructive aura filled the air, and a terrifying psychic power rushed out like a flood, sweeping towards Yi Fan. He let out a light shout, and the source chi of all beings fell down, blocking in front of him. Clang. A deafening rumble rang out. A simple and unadorned cauldron blocked the terrifying killing intent, shattering the psychic powers and making them dissipate in the void. This time he failed again. The result was the same as the previous time. There was a mysterious seal in the other party's sea of consciousness. As long as he tried to probe it, it would be triggered. The expressions of the remaining 4 people from the Ji clan changed drastically. Now that things have come to this, there's nothing more to say. If you want to live, you'll have to exchange the ancient void scripture for your life. Otherwise, there's only one word for you, death, Yi Fan said in a low voice. He didn't have much hope. Divine Will couldn't get it, so it was too difficult to expect these people to say it themselves. Do it. There were still 2 people from Ji family who had not lost their fighting strength. They did not want to sit and wait for death. Every single one of them took out 7 to 8 weapons, and all of them shone like stars. They threw caution to the wind and didn't hesitate to destroy their weapons. They wanted to heavily injure Yi Fan. Every single weapon was almost burning, dazzling and dazzling. Clang. The cauldron made from the cauldron of myriad chi trembled slightly. The weapons that were about to shatter were all stored inside. Blinding light shone from within and energy surged violently. All of the weapons burned and shattered, but they couldn't hurt Yi Fan at all. In the end, the inside of the cauldron calmed down, and a pile of scrap metal was added to it. Yi Fan moved like lightning, and the 2 people fell to the ground, losing their fighting strength. I don't want to say anything more. I'll let go of whoever tells me the innate great void astral energy. Otherwise only death awaits you. At first, the 4 people didn't say a word. They were all stubborn and didn't want to compromise at all. This made Yi Fan frown. If he forcefully asked for it, their sea of consciousness would definitely shatter. I'll give you a chance. In the end, Yi Fan let them recover their fighting strength and fought with the 4 people separately. He secretly used the battle saint technique to imitate the innate great void astral energy. In the end, he finally figured out that this was the secret art of the innate chi mixing in the void. He didn't know how to use it, but he understood the concept. When Yi Fan used the battle saint technique to activate this divine art, Jianxing, and the other 2 people's eyes almost popped out. Yi Fan let out a light shout and spat out a divine light from his mouth. It swept out in all directions like a tsunami. It was extremely powerful. How do you know this divine art? Let's compete and see who's stronger and who's weaker. Yi Fan used the battle saint technique to fight with the 4 people. It wasn't the real innate great void astral energy, but its power wasn't weak. This was the battle secret of the 9 secrets. It could evolve into all kinds of offensive divine arts, and it was truly a supreme divine art. Later on, Yi Fan became more and more proficient. When he opened his mouth, it was like the Milky Way hanging upside down. Its power was unparalleled. His essence, chi, and spirit were far superior to ordinary people. The innate chi was like the ocean, and this divine art was very suitable for him to use. He wasn't like the 4 people in front of him, whose essence would be sucked away by just spitting out a mouthful of innate great void astral energy. Yi Fan used it again. He opened his mouth and spat out a scroll. There were flickering Tao patterns on it. It was like an ancient sky ceiling scroll, and it directly suppressed the 4 people. How is this possible? Jianxing and the others were in disbelief. Yi Fan's use of innate great void astral energy was much more terrifying than theirs. It was as if he had practiced it for many years. This was something they couldn't understand. Thank you for giving me another offensive divine art. Yi Fan used it for a long time and finally stopped. This wasn't the divine art of the Ji clan, but the battle secret of the 9 secrets. An hour later, Yi Fan returned to Flaming Cloud City. He spread the news that the Ji clan didn't keep their promise and that if they took the reward, they would be killed. Then he quickly disappeared without a trace. The Ji clan was in a terrible hurry and finally calmed down the storm. They said that someone had lied to the source with false information. It had to be said that the clan of the ancients was a kind of colossus. After the incident, Flaming Cloud City was in a state of harmony. Not many people believed the words that Yi Fan spread. Yi Fan knew long ago that with the power of the Ji clan, there was no storm that couldn't be settled. He did all this just to make them wary so that it would be convenient for him to make a move next time. Half a month later, Yi Fan returned to Hao province and came to the stone stronghold. The large black dog finally recovered. He had lost a lot of weight. Now he was allergic to pink fruits and the corner of his mouth twitched. Black Emperor, you ate a celestial fruit. What effect did it have? Did you get a great benefit? Yi Fan asked with a smile. If you mention this again, I'll be angry with you. The large black dog's face darkened. He never suffered losses, and this was the first time he was defeated by a fruit. Even now, when he thought of it, he still had the urge to spit out white foam. It should have some effect. That fruit is obviously not ordinary. Yi Fan touched his chin and murmured to himself. Affect my ass. Now everything I eat tastes like I'm biting a gold thread. My mouth is so bitter and I really don't know when it will completely disappear. The large black dog was as depressed as he could be. He couldn't blame anyone but himself for being too greedy and fighting to eat that fruit. Tu Fei didn't disappoint him. In total, he collected 25,000 kilograms of source stones. They were all sparkling and pure high-quality source stones. So many source stones, I want half of them. The greedy large black dog pounced over, wanting to fight again. In the end, Yi Fan waved his long sleeves and took them all. Woof. Stupid dog, don't fight. I've helped you a few times, but I'm always in trouble. You have to compensate me. Okay, no problem. Yi Fan agreed readily. The main reason he came back was to ask for the large black dog's help. Then Yi Fan called Tu Fei over to discuss with him. What? Are you crazy? Revealing your tracks and asking someone to collect 50,000 kilograms of source stones? Tu Fei was shocked. That's right. This is a rare opportunity. It's very feasible. Yi Fan nodded. Tu Fei shook his head and said, You've already tricked 10,000 kilograms of source stones. They must be on guard. They can't continue to cut meat from the tiger. The method from last time won't work. I heard that the person who provides clues needs to use divine sense as a support. So, I have to show my real body and give them the most authentic information. That's too dangerous, Tu Fei objected. It's okay. As long as I use it well, the success rate is very high. When I get 100,000 kilograms of source stones, I can immediately enter the fourth sky of the Dao Palace. You're gambling with your life. If something goes wrong, it'll be too late to regret. Tu Fei was very opposed. With the Black Emperor, I can turn danger into safety. Woof. The large black dog's expression was unfriendly. He said, Brat, when I've been with you, I've never gotten any benefits. I'm always in trouble. Don't count on me this time. Yi Fan smiled and said, Haven't you always wanted source stones? This time we're going to get 50,000 kilograms of source stones. You have to think carefully. 50,000 kilograms? The large black dog was almost drooling. He wanted to refuse, but he couldn't resist the temptation. Damn it, I'm going all out. If I'm unlucky again, Brat, you'll be hunted down. Yi Fan smiled and said to Tu Fei and the large black dog, Actually, as long as we plan well, there won't be any danger this time. Then tell me in detail. First, you have to find a suitable person who can find me at the right time. Then he can report to the light-shaking realm or the Ji family and claim the 100,000 kilograms reward. This was very difficult because the person who provided clues needed divine sense as a support. The person with a problem would definitely give himself away. The suitable person had to be real and he had to be kept in the dark. Tu Fei thought for a while and said, Finding a person who betrayed you isn't a problem. The key is to make him enter the trap naturally. It's a little difficult and we can't leave any traces of our plan. Yi Fan continued with a smile. Second, we have to create momentum. After that person reports to the Holy Land, it's best to create a big commotion so that all the cultivators in that area know and follow him as a witness. If that's the case, if you're surrounded, won't it be more dangerous? Yi Fan chuckled. The Black Emperor is good at studying Dao patterns. Traveling through space is nothing to him. I only need to show myself and then I can travel several thousand miles away. Tu Fei said, From what you've said, it's very feasible. Maybe we can succeed. Black Emperor, can you guarantee your safety when you travel through space? Yi Fan asked. This was the most important part. If he couldn't escape, he would die for sure. You think it's too easy? The Black Emperor attacked him mercilessly. As a member of the remote antiquity family, they must have secret treasures that can freeze space. I'm not sure if we can escape. There are such treasures? Yi Fan was surprised. The Holy Lands have a long history. They must have created such treasures. The large black dog squinted and thought for a while. Luckily, I'm not weak. I have a solution. On that very day, they left Hao Province for the 100,000 kilograms of source stone. Chapter 301. A gust of autumn wind blew, ruffling the yellow leaves and rustling the mountains. The northern region was a land of bitter cold. The 4 seasons changed and autumn and winter were long. Half of the year there was no sign of life and it was dry and cold. The disorderly cloud state had endless mountain ranges that stretched on endlessly. There was not a single piece of flat land, and the high peaks pierced the sky. It was also the reason for its name. I think this state is not bad, Yi Fan said. Tu Fei nodded and said, This is a mountain range with mountains everywhere. It is indeed a good place to seek refuge. The disorderly cloud state was a journey of 11 to 12 days from the northern region Holy City. It was separated from the fire cloud state by an oasis and 2 reddish-brown deserts. They had chosen for more than half a month before finally deciding to take action in this state, waiting to be discovered. The Black Emperor hid in a mountain range and was responsible for engraving Dao patterns. Yi Fan and Tu Fei wandered around to understand the state's situation in detail. Although Mountain Rock City was located in the middle of the mountains, it was the central city of the disorderly cloud state. There were mountains everywhere, so there was no flat land to build a city on. The city was not magnificent. The roads were paved with mountain rocks, and the trees on both sides of the ancient streets were almost bare. Yellow leaves fluttered in the air, telling of the chill of autumn. Yi Fan walked on the narrow stone streets and circled around the city. Soon he learned a lot of news. The important figures of the various sacred lands were deeply attracted by the ancient scroll. Now all their energy was focused on Purple Mountain. The various factions were constantly trying to figure it out so that they could successfully open it in the future. Yi Fan went to a restaurant and ordered a flask of aged wine and a few dishes. He drank by himself and listened to the conversations of the cultivators. The holy city has cut out something good again. It seems to be a rare treasure that was bought by the central state's royalty. Many people are searching for that Yi Fan. Are there any clues? He is worth 50,000 kilograms of origins. 50,000 kilograms of origins is too little. Think about what he has on him. That is the myriad source chi, a priceless treasure. It is a sacred item that even ancient emperors would covet. Important figures are studying Purple Mountain. It looks like there will be a big commotion in the near future. Many geniuses from the Holy Lands have come, not just from the Alcade and the Ji family. No matter how big the northern region is, there is no place for him to hide. The source chi of all things will fall into the hands of the Holy Lands. Actually, many elders are also secretly looking for that young man surnamed Yi. It's just that they haven't revealed themselves yet. After all, the myriad source chi is too precious. Come to think of it, the sacred body of the ancients used to dominate the world and was invincible. Now, however, it can only advance to the Holy Ji Palace secret realm. Otherwise, if it were to grow and compete with the saints and saintesses, the future of the Eastern Barren Territory would be extremely lively. Yi Fan's heart stirred. He had heard of many outstanding and famous figures. There were those of the younger generation and those of the older generation. They had all come to the northern domain, and all of them were aiming for his cauldron. Thud, 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 very rhythmic footsteps could be heard as if it was ringing in the hearts of the people upstairs, causing their hearts to beat along with it. Many people's hearts tightened, and they felt suffocated. It was as if someone was strangling them and controlling their breathing. At the top of the stairs, a young man around 13 or 14 years old walked up. He was dressed in white and spotless. His hair was black and shiny and his skin was as white as snow. His eyes were like black gems and his lips were red and teeth were white. He was very handsome and could be called a handsome young man. Sacred body of the ancients? Invincible in the same level? The way I see it, you're just a stray dog. If I run into you one day, I'll take you back and make you my slave. The young man was like a jade tree. He was so handsome that he was almost enchanting, but his words were very rude, which made many people frown. 2 old men followed behind him. They were dressed in gray and looked very old. Their backs were hunched and they looked like 2 loyal old servants. One of them walked up and chose a table for the young man. He carefully wiped the table with his sleeve before letting the young man sit down. The 2 old men then stood behind him. Whose child is this? How did they educate him? He's so arrogant at such a young age. Isn't he afraid that he'll go astray? Although the people upstairs could guess that the young man was no ordinary person, some of them still couldn't help but mock him. The young man glanced across and asked in a lukewarm tone, "What? Am I wrong?" "Child, you should be humble when you speak. Many geniuses die young." "Umph." The young man snorted coldly. His voice was like a shaking golden bell, making the blood of many boil. He said, "The sacred body of the ancients has been deified. Even hundreds of thousands of years ago he might not be invincible, let alone now." There was no lack of experts among the cultivators who traveled from south to north. One of them retorted, "Back in the day the sacred body of the ancients was invincible. It's an indisputable fact. Even now that crippled body has shown extraordinary combat strength. Few people of the same level can suppress him." The young man in white sneered and said, "It doesn't matter if he's a crippled body or a sacred body. It's still used to suppress. Young man, you're getting more and more arrogant. How old are you? How can you defeat the sacred body of the ancients? Even if it's a crippled body, it's almost invincible among those of the same level. someone goaded. A frog at the bottom of a well doesn't know how vast the sky is. I'll kill him all the same even if we're of the same level, the young man in white said coldly. Where did you come from? Are you really confident that you can defeat the sacred body of the ancients of the same level? Someone asked in surprise. I'm just a commoner who lives in the mountains without any notable background. Does suppressing a sacred body of the ancients have to depend on one's background? He's really nothing. The young man in white's expression was cold. The eastern barren territory was boundless, and there were many extraordinary people deep in the mountains and rivers. Not all the experts were in the sacred land. Everyone looked surprised, thinking that the young man might really have come from such a lineage. Some of them couldn't help but probe with their divine consciousness, wanting to test the cultivation of the young man in white. However, they were struck by lightning before they could even get close. The eyes of one of the two old servants in gray flashed, and a terrifying light shot out, forcing back the 7 or 8 divine consciousnesses. Tu Fei walked upstairs and found a table to sit at. He glanced at Yi Fan, who was not far away, and said, "Who's boasting shamelessly? Aren't you afraid that the wind will cut your tongue?" They entered the city together to understand the situation, but they didn't walk together. It was only now that they arrived at the restaurant. He glanced at the young man and asked, "May I know your name?" Xiajiu. As the son of a great bandit, Tu Fei was not afraid even if he ran into people from the sacred land. Naturally, he would not be polite to a young man. He said, "I've heard of Gai Juyo, but I've never heard of Xia Juyo. 8,000 years ago, Gai Juyo was invincible in the Central Plains. Many people thought that he would become the great emperor, but he eventually left for the eastern barren territory and disappeared from this land. You'll remember this name from now on." The young man in white, Xia Juyo, smirked. "I see that you're so arrogant. How about I exchange a few moves with you?" Tu Fei squinted at him. "I'm not interested in you. This time, I'm here for the sacred body of the ancients." Xia Juyo didn't even glance at Tu Fei. Tu Fei wanted to slap the young man to death, but he couldn't. He asked, "Did the sacred body of the ancients offend you?" "No, I still want to catch him. I read in an ancient book that the blood of the sacred body can be used to refine medicine. I'm here for him. I want to refine a cauldron of divine medicine." "Heroes come from young," Yi Fan said. He poured himself a glass of wine and drank it. In fact, he really wanted to beat this young man up. It was his first time seeing such an arrogant person. He was so young, but he kept saying that he wanted to refine his sacred body. "You're here for the sacred body too?" The Ji family and the Alcade family are both offering a reward. "If there's a clue, how much will you pay?" Tu Fei asked. "I'll pay whatever they offer." The white-clothed young man, Xia Juyo, looked at him and answered. At that moment, everyone on the second floor was shocked. Who was this young man? The highest reward offered by the two great sages' land was 100,000 kilograms of source. How could a young man like him have that much? Everyone looked at him in surprise. He didn't look like someone from a holy land. Who was his master? 100,000 kilograms of source isn't a small amount, Yi Fan said casually. Can you afford it? Tu Fei was also skeptical. Although 100,000 kilograms of source isn't a small amount, I'm not so poor that I can't afford it. The white-clothed young man, Xia Juyo, looked indifferent. What's this young man's background? Is he a disciple of an old sacred master who came to the wasteland in his later years? Some people guessed. Hee hee. A tender laughter came and a fragrant wind blew at the top of the stairs. A beautiful young girl walked up, and her voice was like small pearls falling on a jade plate, clear and pleasant to listen to. She said, "This little brother in white is so bold." It was a tall, sexy girl. She wore a green dress and her hair reflected blue clouds. Her feet glowed with a 5-colored jade light. She was very charming and her eyes were like water. Her hair flew in the wind. Jibua. Yi Fan's heart jumped. She was one of the top 3 young experts of the Ji family, second only to Ji Haoyue. Although this girl was charming, she was definitely a ruthless character. She even wanted to kill her own sister. The white-clothed young man, Xia Juyo, asked, "Who are you?" "I am Jibua." Jibua's smile was very charming, dazzling many people on the second floor. "So you want to compete with me for the sacred body of the ancients?" Xia Juyo asked. "Why would I compete? He killed the great elder of the Ji family. I just want to kill him." Ji Haoyue's smile was very sweet. "But I don't have to kill him. I want to use his blood to refine the divine medicine. I want to take him as my servant," Xia Juyo said. Tu Fei sent a message to Yi Fan discreetly. "Did you see that? This kid is making me seethe with anger. Who is he? How should we beat him up?" Yi Fan didn't change his expression. He also sent a voice transmission. Don't act recklessly. When the big thing is done, we can slowly deal with him. He probably has a big background. A sound came from the staircase again. A young man in blue came up the stairs. He had an extraordinary temperament. His heroic spirit was restrained, and his eyes occasionally flickered with divine light. Brother Li Rue of the Alcade, you are here too. Jibue chuckled. He was a young expert of the 4 extreme secret realms. He was the top expert of the Alcade generation. After the Alcade Saint Child was taken by Yi Fan, he would probably be appointed as the new Saint Child. Seems like we all got the same news. Someone is selling to us at the same time, Li Rue answered with a smile. Tu Fei's appearance had changed a long time ago. Although his aura was not as different as Yi Fan's, he wasn't worried about being recognized because he hadn't had any real contact with the people in front of him. He sent a voice transmission to Yi Fan. Damn it. Which bastard is giving them the news? Is he the same as us? He wants to trick them and coincidentally runs into them? Yi Fan was also worried. The Alcade and the Ji family's people had come to this mountain city. Apparently, the situation wasn't normal. No matter who comes, I will take the sacred body of the ancients. He will be my future servant, Xianxia said coldly. This time we don't care about anything else. We must cut this white-clothed brat into pieces. Doesn't he have 100,000 pounds of source? Rob him. Tu Fei was furious. Yi Fan also wanted to beat him up. The Xianxia was too arrogant. However, he seemed to have a big background since he dared to compete with the people of the Holy Land. Chapter 302. How bold of you to want to take the sacred body of the ancients as a slave. You've really opened my eyes, an old man said drunkenly from upstairs. Jibue let out a bell-like laugh and said, taking the sacred body of the ancients as a slave? What a great idea. Come to think of it, I'm tempted too. Another middle-aged man drank a cup of wine and sighed. Has the sacred body of the ancients really declined to this extent? Thinking back to the supreme charm of the past, nothing can be predicted with the changes of the world. Xianxia was not old, but he was quite cold without a trace of youthful innocence. He said coldly, so what if he has the sacred body of the ancients? Natural selection has long been unable to adapt to this world, so he can only become a slave. Since ancient times, no one has dared to take the sacred body of the ancients as a slave. This has never happened before. The invincible body has indeed been buried in the dust of history. In the restaurant, many people frowned at Xianxia, but they could not help but sigh. This was an indisputable fact. The so-called sacred body was now useless and could not be of any use. Little brother Xia, I also want to take this sacred body as a slave. What do you think? Jibue smiled sweetly like a green peony. Xianxia was only 13 or 14 years old. He had red lips and white teeth. His eyes were shining like black gems. He was so beautiful that even women would be jealous of him, but his words were quite domineering. I've already said that no one can compete with me. This sacred body is mine. I want to use his blood to refine the elixir. From now on he will be my most loyal slave. Little brother, you are too domineering. I also want to take him as a slave. How about this? In order to avoid conflict between us, whoever captures him first will be his master. How about it? Jibue smiled like a flower. Because of some reasons from your Ji family, I don't want to fall out with you. So whoever captures him first will be his master, Xianxia answered coldly. The two acted as if there was no one else around. Their simple words were as if they were deciding whether to take or leave a commodity. They did not care too much. What if I capture him first? Li Rue, the top young cultivator from the Holy Land of Yaoguang, asked. His heroic spirit was restrained, and lightning occasionally flowed in his eyes. Yi Fan had the source chi of all things on him, so there was no way he wouldn't make a move. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to live up to the expectations of some of the light-shaking realm's grand elders. This was an opportunity for him to become a holy son. Brother Li Rue, do you also want to take the sacred body of the ancients as a slave? Jibue smiled sweetly. He kidnapped the son and daughter of Yaoguang, so of course I have to act. I have to bring him back to Yaoguang and let the elders deal with him. Li Rue had no other choice. He had to act. Whether it was for public or private reasons, he had to capture and kill Yi Fan. I've heard of the Yaoguang saint, but who are you? How can you compete with me? It had to be said that although Xianxia was young, he was rather powerful. This is one of the 4 great young hotshots of the light-shaking realm. He has entered the 4 extreme secret domains 3 years ago. He's the peerless genius of the light-shaking realm. Not many people in the same generation can rival him, said Two-Face slowly. He wasn't doing this out of goodwill. He wanted nothing more than for the two of them to collide into each other like a meteor crashing into a comet, creating destructive sparks and starting a great battle. Yi Fan smiled and didn't say anything. I just want to know if he's stronger than the Yao Guang Saint, snorted Xiajiuyo. Many people on the second floor were watching. This handsome young man in white clothes didn't put anything in his eyes. His arrogance shot up to the sky. People were waiting for him to fight with someone else. Li Rui came from the Yao Guang Holy Land. He was calm and natural. He didn't respond to anything and just smiled calmly. If you're not as strong as the Yao Guang Saint, don't compete with me. Just leave early, said Xiajiuyo indifferently while playing with his glass of wine. Little brother, don't you think you're too overbearing? Who is your teacher? Li Rui's face was cold. Even a man made of clay had 3 parts of his nature. Moreover, he was a genius who had been despised many times. If he didn't care about him, it wouldn't be his bearing anymore. It would be his weakness, which would weaken the prestige of the Yao Guang Holy Land. Then he would have no chance to be the saint. Why do you ask? You just want to test me, don't you? Just attack me. The young man in white clothes, Xiajiuyo, was direct. You're too arrogant. Li Rui shook his head. Why is there a need to be so fake? Just do whatever you want. Since you can't put down your pride and need an excuse to take action, then let me beat you up. The young man in white clothes, Xiajiuyo, took action as soon as he finished speaking. He was direct enough after all, not saying any unnecessary words. He raised his hand and pressed forward. His long and slender fingers looked like they were carved from fine jade. They were even more beautiful and flawless than the delicate hands of a woman. At this moment, many people were greatly alarmed. They felt as if they were suffocating, and the powerful pressure made it hard for them to breathe. Xiajiuyo's jade-like fingers moved, pulling out an iron steel. Patterns flickered on its surface, and it was filled with the aura of the Tao. It was incomparably powerful, and it immediately descended to suppress Li Rui. There wasn't a single person who wasn't shocked. This wasn't some kind of weapon, but rather a Tao steel, condensed from the white-clothed youth's divine force. He was relaxed and natural, as if he had just casually struck it out. Li Rui used his hand to support the sky, stopping the steel from descending. However, his expression changed. This steel made him fearful, crushing his arms until they were numb. Chi. The patterns on the steel flickered, shining brilliantly. The aura of the Tao pervaded the air like water ripples, becoming more and more heavy. The floor beneath Li Rui's feet began to crack, extending outwards like a spider web. He was about to sink downstairs, and the pressure he endured was incomparably great. Suddenly, a dazzling holy light rushed out. Li Rui's body became holy, as if a raging holy flame was burning within him. He immediately lifted the steel up. This is the mixed origin sacred light technique, known to be impervious to all techniques. It is the Eastern Wasteland's most powerful defensive secret technique. Li Rui obtained this kind of inheritance. Could it be that he is really going to replace the Alcade Saint Child? Many people were shocked. This kind of secret technique was not passed on to the Alcade Saint Child. Normally, only 1 or 2 people from the younger generation could learn it, and it was all grasped by the previous generation. Up to the heavens, down to the yellow springs, the white-clothed youth, Xiajiuyo, softly chanted. Even more patterns appeared on the steel as if they were interweaving with the Tao. With a wung sound, it trembled as if a true divine steel of the great Tao had appeared. Not to mention Li Rui, even the people around him felt a great pressure. Many people in the surroundings almost fell to the ground. The floor cracked again. Li Rui frowned. He felt that the situation wasn't good. This white-clothed youth truly had the qualifications to be arrogant. Suddenly the divine light was blinding. Everyone closed their eyes, unable to look straight at it. A divine sword hacked over, knocking the steel to the side. A yellow-clothed youth appeared at the top of the stairs. He was very young and vigorous, but he was very calm. The divine sword flashed and entered his body. Just now he was the one who had saved the situation. Who dares to attack me? The white-clothed youth, Xiajiuyo, had a cold glint in his eyes. Dian, Xianxia. The yellow-clothed youth announced his name. Everyone present was shocked. Just now, the divine sword had shone resplendently like a divine sword from the heavens. Some people had already guessed it, and now it was confirmed. The Dian's sacred sword was extremely heaven-defying. When it reached its peak, it could cut through everything and create a small world. So you are from the Dian sacred land. Do you want to fight me? Xiajiuyo asked. He was not very old, but his aura was imposing. The Dian sacred land had never produced a great emperor, nor did they have an extreme weapon. However, it was famous in the eastern wasteland as one of the most powerful forces. The two words Dian represented the evolution process of heaven and earth. Those who dared to take such a name were naturally extraordinary. They imitated nature and had all kinds of unfathomable divine techniques. In reality, the Dian sacred land was even more ancient than many other sacred lands. It was one of the most ancient inheritances in the eastern wasteland and was unfathomable. Xianxia came from this sacred land, so he naturally represented power and mystery. No one dared to look down on him. He said, "I only want to be a peacemaker. I don't want the two of you to fight to the death." "Is there a need to fight to the death to fight him?" Xiajuyo laughed coldly, not giving him any face. "You." Li Rui was furious. His black hair danced chaotically. The Dian sacred land Xianxia smiled and said, "Little brother, you don't look more than 13 or 14 years old, but you are a heaven-warping talent. Your future accomplishments are limitless. It's just that your temper is a bit too big." Everyone present had experienced the temperament of the white-clothed youth. It was somewhat unbearable. It was precisely because of his forcefulness that they forgot his age. Only now did they realize it. At this age, he was already able to compete with the inheritors of the great sage's land. This was a bit too shocking. He was truly a weirdo among geniuses. Being outstanding at a young age doesn't mean that you will also be a genius when you grow up. Are there few examples in the past? In the Eastern Wastelands past, there were exceptional geniuses who stepped into the four extreme secret realms at the age of 8 or 9. What was the result? In the end, didn't they still become mediocre? Some people couldn't stand Xiajuyo's arrogance and spoke out to refute him. "It's still much better than you guys who became mediocre the moment you were born." The white-clothed youth, Xiajuyo's arrogance didn't change. He sneered as he swept his eyes over everyone. Many people were speechless. This youth didn't have any misgivings. It was as if he dared to become enemies with everyone in the world. At this moment, even Yi Fan wanted to give him a finger. Of course, it was hard to say whether it was the thumb or the other finger. Most of the exceptional geniuses of the ancient times have already grown up. After all, accidents are few and far between. An old servant behind the white-clothed youth said calmly. Everyone was speechless. How old was Xiajuyo? He was only 13 or 14 years old, yet he could already suppress the experts of the four extremes. If he was allowed to grow up, he would simply be a monster. Boundless celestial being. A pleasant Tao name rang out like waves of celestial music, cleansing everyone's hearts. A female Taoist had unknowingly appeared at the staircase. Her figure was tall and slender, and her temperament was otherworldly. She gave off an extremely special feeling. She was clearly standing there without any lingering mist or celestial light covering her body, yet no one could see her appearance clearly. She was like a beautiful figure in the moon palace, and also like an immortal orchid on a precipice. It was as if she had become one with the Tao, making it impossible for others to see through her depth and true appearance. The inheritor of the Tao won holy ground. Someone cried out in surprise. Yi Fan's heart also jumped. He had deeply experienced how powerful and otherworldly this female Taoist was. When they destroyed the ancient tomb in Li City, she used her soft, heavenly voice to chant the 4 words, "Boundless celestial being, purifying thousands of evil people and horses. My sister from the Tao won holy ground is here too. This way please." Gbua smiled sweetly. She twisted her soft waist and walked over, pulling the female Taoist to the side. Yi Fan and Tu Fei looked at each other. There was definitely something wrong here. Most likely, there really were people who wanted to trick the two great sages just like they did. They wanted to draw these strong people here to testify and create momentum. What's the use of so many people coming here? You guys should leave as soon as possible. You guys don't stand a chance. Xiajuyo glanced at everyone. He did not care even if he was the enemy of the entire world. Aren't you afraid of being killed by the sacred body of the ancients alone? Tu Fei's expression was unfriendly. He had no scruples. As the descendant of a great bandit, he would still challenge the Alcade Saint, who was invincible among the younger generation. The sacred body of the ancients is nothing. He's just a slave that I'm going to raise. If he dares to be disrespectful to me, I'll turn him into ashes with a flip of my hand. Tu Fei wanted to slap him. Xiajuyo didn't care about anything else, but he kept talking about being a slave. It made Tu Fei's palm itch. Not to mention Yi Fan. He tapped the table lightly, wanting to give the white-clothed young man a good beating. We'll start with you two. Leave now. Xiaojuyo said to Yi Fan and Tu Fei, who were the closest to him. He wanted to clear the place and chase away all the cultivators. You think you can make the two of us leave? Chapter 303. Do you think you can make the two of us leave? Tu Fei squinted at Xiaojuyo, his face unfriendly. Do you want me to send you away with only one finger? Xiaojuyo said coldly. Tu Fei was so angry that he almost vomited blood. Being looked down upon by a 13 or 14-year-old boy, he had the impulse to kill someone. That Yao Guang expert is just like that. Do you think you can defeat him? The young man in white sneered, still arrogant. Everybody was speechless. Xiaojuyo was so arrogant that he wasn't afraid of offending people. He even belittled Li Rue, the Yao Guang expert. Tu Fei took a deep breath. After a while he said, "You haven't even grown your hair yet. Why are you so arrogant?" BFFF. People around laughed. They didn't think that Tu Fei would say something like that in front of so many people. Xiaojuyo's face stiffened and then became cold. Tu Fei was annoyed. He thought that he couldn't defeat this young man. He was just 13 or 14 years old, but he was so intimidating. Tu Fei held his breath. "Then let me see how strong you are," said the young man in white coldly. "Why would I lower myself to a kid's level?" "I won't bully you," said Tu Fei shamelessly. He was afraid that the young man would teach him a lesson. "Then I will bully you." Xiaojuyo stood up. Tu Fei waved his hand. "Forget it. If you want to compete, we will have a civil battle. Otherwise I will see your tender skin. You're even more beautiful than a little girl. It's not good if you get hurt." "How will we have a civil battle?" The others booed as if they didn't want the situation to be chaotic. "Of course it's a soul consciousness battle," answered Tu Fei deliberately. "What kind of civil battle is that? It's the most dangerous one. Seems like they want to have a life and death battle." People around were scared as they thought that Tu Fei was impatient. "All right, if you want your spirit to decay, I will fulfill your wish." Xiaojuyo sat there calmly. "If I take action, I will bully you. Send my brother." Tu Fei patted Yi Fan's shoulder, pushing him forward. "Too shameless, sending their own brothers to their deaths." Someone muttered in a low voice. "You two should come together," mocked Xiaojuyo. "Kid, you haven't even grown your hair yet. Don't be so stubborn. You can't defeat one of them, let alone two of them," Tu Fei boasted shamelessly. Xiaojuyo's killing intent was revealed. Two beams of divine light shot out from his eyes. They were extremely dazzling and no one dared to look straight at them. Chi. A beam of light shot out from his glabella, which was more beautiful than a rainbow. It pierced through Tu Fei. This level of soul consciousness was really intimidating. Clang. A beam of purple light shot out from Yi Fan's forehead. It was like a divine sword being unsheathed. Clanging sounds rang out and it was comparable to the purple heavenly sword. He was intentionally concealing his golden divine consciousness. The heaven and earth transformation great arc recorded in the Book of Origin could alter his aura and charm. Chi. The two of them fought with their divine wills. The tables and chairs around them were silently annihilated, turning into powder and ashes. This was a powerful collision. There was danger to one's life at every turn, and it was quite possible that one's divine senses would be destroyed, consigned to eternal damnation. The purple light against the colorful light created a dazzling scene in the sky. The soul consciousness was like a saber. It was even more dangerous than a real battle. The foreheads of the two were sparkling. The onlookers were scared out of their wits. If such a powerful divine consciousness swept over them, many of them would lose their lives immediately. Clang, 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 clang. Yi Fan's soul consciousness turned into a 3-inch tall little purple man holding a spear. He looked like a purple god of war, advancing step by step. Xiaojuyo's soul consciousness turned into a 7-colored little man holding a divine bell. He looked very elegant. When he shook the bell, colorful light rippled out like ripples. The soul consciousness turned into a human body, fighting fiercely in the air. Many people couldn't help but shiver. This was a battle of the most basic origin. Clang. The little purple man became braver as he fought. He was like a god. After the spear in his hand pierced through the air, it swept horizontally. The 7-colored little man was very agile. He held the divine bell and looked ethereal. He couldn't dodge in time, so he carried the bell on his back and blocked the spear. Boom. A soul consciousness sound arose. Many people felt their soul consciousness stinging. They were affected by this battle. Swoosh. The two little figures separated. Purple radiance and multicolored radiance shot out, fighting a great battle again. Stop fighting. At this time, a gray-clothed elder behind Xiaojuyo suddenly spoke. A dusky streak of light shot out from between his brows, sweeping towards Yi Fan's soul consciousness. When this type of aura appeared, many people's expressions changed. They felt as if doomsday had arrived. This soul consciousness was too powerful, as deep as the sea. Swoosh. Light flickered. The little purple person rushed into Yi Fan's forehead. That place was sparkling like jade, flickering with light. What is the meaning of this? Yi Fan asked with a sunken voice. Just now, he felt as if he was locked in place by a vicious beast. This elder was extremely dangerous. His soul consciousness was terrifying, most likely not weaker than his own. My family's young master is currently cultivating a divine art and cannot use his soul consciousness recklessly. That is why I stopped this battle. The gray-clothed elder replied. My divine art has yet to be completed. It is indeed a hindrance. Xianxia spoke. His black gem-like eyes blinked as he stared at Yi Fan. You have exceeded my expectations. Your soul consciousness is actually so powerful. How much of your strength did you use? If it was more than 60%, you are not my opponent. Yi Fan smiled and didn't explain anything. However, his heart jumped. This youth was truly a monster. At such a young age, if his soul consciousness was fully unleashed, it would most likely be comparable to Yaoshi. It was hard to imagine who taught him. Could it be that he was personally taught by the previous generation's old sacred lord? After this battle, the expression of the white-robed youth, Xianxia, eased up a little. He no longer threatened to chase everyone away. Many people looked towards Yi Fan. He actually fought to a draw with Xianxia, causing this insufferably arrogant white-robed youth to change his mind. This shocked everyone on the second floor. The young Taoist from the Dao One Holy Ground, Xiang Yifei from the Super Yen Holy Ground, and Ji Bue from the Ji clan all revealed strange expressions. They couldn't help but size up Yi Fan. Boundless celestial being. An old Taoist appeared and walked up the stairs. He looked to be around 50 or 60 years old. His body was skinny, but he was very spirited. He had a goatee and his two eyes were shining like golden pearls. This person didn't look ordinary at first glance. Although his body was skinny, he was full of spirit. He was a very powerful cultivator and people couldn't see through him. Taoist, you finally appeared. Do you have any accurate information? Ji Bue asked with a smile. A monk doesn't lie. This poor Taoist will confirm his location soon, the old Taoist said seriously. Yi Fan and Tu Fei's hearts jumped. They exchanged looks. This was the person who wanted to trick people? This Taoist is really talented. He also wants to trick the Holy Land. He is even more like the real master than the real master. He thinks ahead of us. Tu Fei gritted his teeth. This old Taoist was dull. He didn't talk much. When people asked him, he answered. He looked simple and honest, which was far from being cunning. Yi Fan nodded and sent him a message. If he deceives the Holy Land first, we can't do anything. We only have one chance. Tu Fei was enraged. Look at this Taoist. He looks so honest. Damn it. I want to slap him. Boundless celestial being. I don't know where he is now. It's not time yet. If you give me the source now, I won't accept it, said the old Taoist with a sincere face. I want to slap him. He's a big traitor. Look at how sincere he is. Someone wants to give him the source, but he refused. Tu Fei was indignant. He wants to trick us. Why would he want such a small source? Yi Fan couldn't help but admire him. This old Taoist was really talented. He came here to trick people, but he still looked honest. He didn't even want the source. He had integrity. After 1 hour, everybody left. Only Yi Fan didn't move. Tu Fei said, Hurry. Let's go after him. Let's see what the Taoist is going to do. It's no use chasing after him. If he dares to come here, he must have a backup plan. Yi Fan shook his head. He turned around and walked to the chair the old Taoist had sat on. He rolled up his sleeve and put it away. Why did you take that chair? You want to use it to find that Taoist? Tu Fei didn't understand. We can't, but that dog can, smiled Yi Fan. Tu Fei clapped his hands and laughed. A dog's nose is the best. That damn dog can do it. They had been walking around the city for a long time. They had learned a lot of news. The Ji family had sent 3 grand elders. The light-shaking realm had sent some peerless hotshots. Also, the All Beginnings Holy Land had sent some famous guests. These were just rumors. They didn't know how many people from the big forces and the wandering cultivators had come. The young Taoist priest of the Dao One Holy Land was here. Xiang Yifei of the Great Yen Holy Land was also here. Besides, the Purple Mansion Holy Land's descendants showed up. However, they didn't know if the Grand Elders of those Holy Lands were here or not. The mother of all things has stirred people's hearts. A bunch of undying old men are here. It's going to be troublesome, said Tu Fei. Yi Fan frowned. He wanted to seize the chance when the great sage's attention was attracted by the ancient scroll. He didn't expect that so many people would come here. The old Taoist who wanted to trick the Holy Land had done exactly as Shi Yan had planned. It gave Shi Yan a headache. Should we take action before that Taoist does? Asked Tu Fei. Yi Fan contemplated for a while and then said, we can't take action now. I think other holy masters will come. It's risky. Should we just stand and watch that cunning Taoist cheat us? Tu Fei was indignant. Yi Fan rubbed his chin and smiled. It's precisely because he's here that it's indescribably wonderful. Let him do all of this. When the time comes, we'll think of a way to get the source. We just need to keep an eye on him. Tu Fei understood. He laughed and nodded continually. Let him do his best. We'll take the origin. However, we have to know all his movements. That's how we can attack him. Yi Fan nodded. We can only count on that dog's nose now. This time we have to find a safe way to rob Xiajiuyo. Tu Fei didn't forget about it. 2 hours later, Yi Fan and Tu Fei returned to the lofty mountain range. The autumn wind blew gently and the yellow leaves danced in the air. The mountain looked bleak. It was a valley where the plants were withered. Fallen leaves covered the ground. The big black dog was lying on the ground, panting. He had finished carving the Tao patterns, which were enough for him to cross the sky. You just carved some patterns. Do you need to do that? Tu Fei mocked. What do you know? The big black dog didn't even look at him. These two didn't see eye to eye. Since the first fight between the man and the dog, they had been fighting whenever they saw each other. What kind of Tao patterns did you carve? Yi Fan was a little surprised. The big black dog said arrogantly, I carved a serial Tao pattern. I'm not afraid of being frozen in the sky or being chased into the sky. How many miles can you cross? Asked Yi Fan. I just tried. I crossed 60,000 miles, answered the big black dog. This damn dog must be talking nonsense. How could he come back from 60,000 miles in such a short time? Tu Fei dropped his jaw. He didn't believe it. Yi Fan's forehead was full of black lines. I left you a lot of origin. You used them all? Do you know what the serial Tao pattern is? There were a dozen transits along the way. Of course, I had to cross the sky to arrange them, answered the big black dog confidently. Yi Fan and Tu Fei wanted to punch him. This damn dog had used up a lot of origin. Perhaps half of it had gone into his stomach. This damn dog is so unreliable. Tu Fei cursed. Oh. The big black dog pounced. Stop. Yi Fan stopped him and said, Did you arrange any restrictions along the way? This time we might encounter some extremely dangerous people. Don't worry. Even if we're chased by a ruthless person, I will make him suffer. The big black dog clenched his teeth and said, Being with you, I've been unlucky many times. This time I've carved the Tao pattern with all my origin. Even if the god of heaven comes, he can't catch me. This damn dog is so powerful. Can you lure Xiajiuyo here, trap him and skin him alive? Almost. Yi Fan nodded, then said to the big black dog, Now help me find someone. He waved his sleeve and a wooden chair appeared in the valley. What do you mean? The big black dog didn't understand. I want to use your dog nose to find someone, Tu Fei said. Woof. The big black dog pounced and a battle between a man and a dog started. I had #yen. Damn dog, I'm telling the truth, Tu Fei screamed. Stop. We won't trick the Holy Land anymore. We need to find someone. Yi Fan hurriedly stopped him. What did you say? The big black dog became even more anxious. You made me carve so many Tao patterns with all my effort, but in the end, nothing happened? Of course, these Tao patterns are useful. They are the path of life when we retreat, Yi Fan explained hurriedly. Otherwise this damn dog would rebel. The big black dog's expression softened and he said, Another bull's nose. As expected, this group of trash is not good. Of course, you're also immoral, sitting back and enjoying the fruits of others' labor. But I like it, hee. Don't laugh. Don't be so despicable. The big black dog laughed dryly. His bald tail stood up and he sniffed the chair. He frowned and said, Extremely pure aura of divine power. The Black Emperor transformed into a cat and followed Yi Fan and Tu Fei back to Mountain Rock City. Then they started their search from that restaurant. Their journey was smooth. They came to a deep mountain and when they reached a cliff, the big black dog stopped and said suspiciously, He disappeared. Is he hiding here? Tu Fei asked. No, this person seems to have disintegrated here. The big black dog was suspicious. What nonsense are you talking about? Suddenly the big black dog's expression changed and he said, I know. He's not a real person. Is he a demon spirit? Yi Fan asked. He's a powerful expert, a god born in the Doctrine Palace. He cultivates an ancient technique from hundreds of thousands of years ago. He must be afraid of being followed, so he disintegrated here and disappeared in this world. Then he reassembled his body dozens of miles away, the big black dog deduced. He's that powerful? Yi Fan and Tu Fei were both surprised. Yes, it's that kind of secret technique. I can feel that aura. He's not a simple person, the big black dog said. We have to find out who he is, Yi Fan said gravely. They walked dozens of miles like this, searching in the sky and on the ground. Finally they found a clue again. It had to be said that the Black Emperor's sense of smell was unparalleled. He could confirm it with just a smell and he followed it all the way. This was the pure aura of divine power left by a god in the human Dao Palace. They believed that they would find the person soon. After chasing for more than 3,000 miles, they gradually approached their target. They came to a deep mountain. Damn, I smell a familiar aura, the Black Emperor said. A familiar aura? Besides the pure aura of divine power, there is also the aura of that person. It's a familiar person, the Black Emperor replied. What? A familiar person? Yi Fan and Tu Fei were both shocked. Don't get close. This person isn't simple. We can only watch from a distance, the big black dog said gravely. 15 minutes later, Yi Fan, Tu Fei, and the Black Emperor chose a secret place, looking at a mountain in the distance. He looks exactly like you. Tu Fei was a little surprised. Yi Fan frowned. On that mountain, another him was immersed in carving something. This is the ox nose that I bit in the Great Emperor's bedroom. It's definitely his aura, the Black Emperor said. That damn fatty. Yi Fan had never thought that it would be Duanda. What? An immoral Taoist? Didn't Grandpa Wu Dao chase this bastard to the Central Plains? When did he come back? He's really lucky. Tu Fei was also surprised. Damn fatty. Yi Fan clenched his teeth. This guy was worthy of the Immortal Taoist title. He dared to trick anyone. This time he even wanted to trick the Holy Land. Tu Fei also cursed. Finally, this bastard is in our hands. We must make him bleed. This bastard has guts to the sky. Yi Fan also had the urge to vomit blood. This immoral Taoist really knew how to make trouble. He could even think of such a dirty trick. He clenched his teeth and said, he pretended to be me to trick people. How could he think of that? Tu Fei said, this bastard blocked our way and even used your appearance. I have never seen such an immoral Taoist. What is he carving? Is he carving a Taoist pattern? Yi Fan was suspicious. The big black dog gave an affirmative answer. Yes. It looks like he's carving a Taoist pattern, and it's not an ordinary Taoist pattern. However, he's not good enough, so he's carving very slowly. Yi Fan rubbed his chin and said, I want to stomp this fatty to death. When he leaves, Black Emperor, you go and modify it so that he can't do anything when he crosses the sky. People will die if we do this. Although the Black Emperor said this, he still laughed dryly without any sincerity. When the people of the Holy Land surround him, let's see how he can escape. Tu Fei laughed. At this time, 5 Taoists rushed out of Duanda's body to help him carve the Taoist pattern. One of them was the skinny and honest Taoist. Now I finally understand why I wanted to beat that Taoist up. It's because of this damn fatty's god. Chapter 304. This mountain wasn't high, but it had dragon aura twirling around. It was the ancestral root of this mountain range. It was indeed a good place to cultivate. The ancient pines were green, and the strange rocks stood upright. There was also a surging spirit spring. Duanda was concentrating on carving the Dao patterns on the mountain peak. Next to him was a skinny old Taoist who was busy. In the mountain far from them, the Black King said, it's almost done. I'm sure we can finish it today. This ox nose isn't simple. It's time to sell this wicked Taoist. But I don't know how much we can get for him, Tu Fei mumbled. Yi Fan was afraid that the heartless fatty would notice them. He made a hand gesture, and the 2 people and the dog left in silence. Chaotic Clouds Prefecture was full of mountains. The ancient pines reached the sky, and the green peaks touched the clouds. They came to a precipice that was thousands of feet high. A few old pines that looked like horned dragons stretched out their branches, looking quite vigorous in the clouds and mist. When everything is ready, we will take the reward for him and lure the warriors of the great sages land here, Tu Fei suggested. Yi Fan smiled and said, we have to consider every step carefully. We can't make any mistakes. Otherwise we will be sorry for the damn fatty. If they succeeded, Duanda would be so enraged. He had worked so hard and risked so much. But in the end it was all for nothing. The Black King was like a wolf with a big tail. He also wanted to take Duanda's place, so he smiled wryly. The laughter of two people and a dog came from the cliff. Several hundred miles away, Duanda sneezed. He lifted his head to look at the sky and cursed. Then he started to carve the Dao patterns again. Black King, you stay here and guard. If the damn fatty leaves, help him modify the Dao patterns. Tu Fei and I will go out to check. We will be ready to lure the warriors of the Holy Lands. When Yi Fan and Tu Fei arrived at Mountain Rock City, they felt something was wrong. There were too many cultivators. We can't do this. It's hard to deceive the origin. The great elders of the Ji family and the Alcade Kingdom were here. They didn't know which big shots from the Holy Lands were here. Apart from that, there were also quite a number of rogue cultivators. Many of them were well-known figures. Relatively speaking, the younger generation was not that scary. Yi Fan even suspected that an almighty being or even a saint lord had arrived. This was definitely not a good sign. If it was before, he would definitely cancel the plan. He could not deceive the Holy Land. Now, everything was being carried out by Duanda, but he was still somewhat hesitant. Duanda will be able to carve the Dao pattern today. At the latest, he will make his move tomorrow to scam the sacred ground. We don't have much time left. We have to decide as soon as possible whether to leave or to scam the fatty. The two of them returned to the mountain and discussed again. The large black dog had a squarish head and large ears, and he appeared extremely ferocious. He stood under an ancient pine tree and said, "In my opinion, directly snatching that cow nose is the most convenient and safest." A holy land that had existed for more than 100,000 years was not to be trifled with. The disturbance this time was great, exceeding their expectations. Quite a few older generation figures came. If they falsely claimed 100,000 pounds of origin source, they would be exposed. Also, the person Tu Fei had found wasn't reliable. But this wicked Taoist is too mysterious. I don't think we can deal with him. Tu Fei frowned. Duanda's background was mysterious, and his methods were extraordinary. He had been chased by Wu Dao for so many days, but he still came back alive. It was enough to show that he was not an ordinary person. Besides, he cultivated an ancient technique from more than 100,000 years ago, and his strength was unpredictable. Yi Fan said, "It's really not a good time to claim the origin source. It's better to let Duanda do everything and let him take all the blame. We can intercept him halfway, but I don't think we can deal with this fatty. How did this damn fatty create such a big disturbance? He has a headache and I'm afraid it won't be easy to deal with him." Tu Fei paced back and forth, but he couldn't think of a solution. The key is that we can't be sure how strong this fatty is. Anyway, we are not dealing with his body but with his god. Yi Fan tried to guess the strength of that wooden Taoist, but he didn't get any conclusion. The listless black dog suddenly said, "If we only deal with that wooden Taoist, it shouldn't be a problem. I just remembered that the ancient technique he cultivates has a fatal flaw." "You know how to deal with him?" Tu Fei was surprised. The ancient technique he cultivates is called the heaven technique of crossing calamities. Now that the 9 calamities are not complete, a single god is afraid of thunder and lightning. I will carve some Dao patterns to trap him and trigger the sky thunder. He won't be able to resist. Yi Fan offered some materials he had collected in the Demon City. Black Emperor concentrated on carving, and he finished before the sun set. "This damn dog is really cruel. He can carve such an abnormal Dao pattern," Tu Fei mumbled. Before the sun disappeared, Duanda finally finished. Retrieving the 5 gods, he exhaled in relief. Yi Fan and the others stood on a distant mountain, dozens of mountains away from him. They could only vaguely see his figure to avoid being discovered. "It seems he won't act tonight. The real disturbance will come tomorrow," Yi Fan guessed. As expected, Duanda sat on the mountain peak and started to meditate. After midnight, Duanda stood up like a ghost and dashed toward the distant mountain. He was very cautious, observing the surrounding terrain. "Black Emperor, it's up to you now," Yi Fan said. The black dog disappeared without a sound. He didn't leave for long and returned after a short while. "He won't sense it, right?" Tu Fei asked. "I just did something. On the surface, the Dao pattern doesn't seem to change, but it can't travel through space," the black dog said. The sky was bright. Duanda sat on the mountain peak and breathed. White air currents as thick as arms went in and out of his 7 apertures like dragons. It was the first time Yi Fan saw Duanda cultivating. He couldn't figure out this kind of ability. Those white air currents were the inborn origin essence chi. Swoosh. With a flash of light, A skinny and wooden Taoist dashed out of Duanda's Taoist palace and flew toward Mountain Rock City, which was 3,000 miles away. Yi Fan rolled up his sleeves and put the shrunken Black Emperor into his sleeve. Then he and Tu Fei retreated silently and flew toward the mountain city. Now they didn't need to keep an eye on Duanda. They just needed to keep an eye on the wooden Taoist. Hee, we let the wicked Taoist do everything and let him take all the blame. Aren't we too cruel? That damn fatty should be dealt with like this. He used to do things like this. Now he's just falling into his own trap. This time they were very thorough. They didn't even need to go through the danger of impersonating the source. They only needed to rob the wooden Taoist at the critical moment. Mountain Rock City wasn't very grand. It was located in the middle of a mountain range and was surrounded by trees. Yellow leaves danced in the air. At noon, the atmosphere in the city suddenly became strange. It was as if an undercurrent had suddenly surged. Then, a large number of cultivators soared into the sky and flew toward a certain direction, entering the endless mountain range. They're moving. Yi Fan's eyes twinkled. Many cultivators had white hair and beards. They were from the previous generation, so they didn't know how strong they were. So many old fellas. I don't know how Duanda fooled them. He didn't expose himself. Tu Fei was surprised. Black Emperor said, the heaven technique of passing calamities has the supreme merciless strike. It can temporarily turn one into another person. Of course, this bull-nose won't expose himself. At this moment, the young Taoist of the Tao One Holy Land, Xianxia of the Great Yen Holy Land, Ji Baiyu of the Ji family, and the successor of the Purple Mansion Holy Land all showed their true forms and chased after them. The future God King of the Ji family is here too, Tu Fei said. The successor of the All Beginnings Holy Land is here too. Yi Fan's expression changed. Xiajuyo is here. This kid is really arrogant. Today we should teach him a lesson too, Tu Fei said. In the sky, Xiajuyo was wearing a snow-white robe. He was just 13 or 14 years old, but he was as bright as a banished immortal. 9 streams of dragon energy were under his feet, carrying him toward the distant mountains. 2 gray-clothed elders followed him closely. Yi Fan said, let's follow them. The wooden Taoist is leading the way. I think he already got a part of the source. Don't run away. Chaotic Clouds Prefecture was filled with mountain ranges. Many towering mountains pierced through the clouds. Today there were countless cultivators. The sky was full of people. There were beautiful young girls and old people who were hundreds of years old. All of them were flying in the same direction. Duanda has gone too far this time. He thinks he can play everyone in the palm of his hand and control everything. Now that so many people have surrounded him, he suddenly realized that he can't cross the void. Let's see how he can resolve this. Tu Fei was looking forward to this scene. He wanted to see Duanda's expression at that time. They flew quickly and caught up with the others. From afar they saw the wooden Taoist. He was still honest and calm. Let's see if he will laugh or cry. These people were flying fast, especially the group of old people in the front, the sons of the great sage and the saintess. They could shrink the ground to an inch. 2 hours later they finally caught up to the spiritual mountain. Everybody spread out, surrounding the mountain from every direction. The mountain wasn't high. Green pines covered it. White ribbons hung down from the peak, looking very beautiful. There are people cultivating on the mountain. Maybe it's true. The 2 old men nodded and said. Their faces were ruddy and their hair was like snow. They looked like old immortals. Far from them people were discussing. Yi Fan was surprised. They were the 2 grand supreme elders of the light-shaking realm. On the other side, 3 old men with outstanding auras were hovering in the sky. Many people recognized that they were the 3 grand supreme elders of the Ji family. Yi Fan felt lucky that he didn't act rashly and let Duanda take the lead. Now that so many important characters were here, the situation was complicated. Tu Fei said, did you hear that? Someone was talking about the grand supreme elders of all the holy lands. Also, there was an old man who said that he vaguely saw a certain holy lord flash by. The people of the spiritual mountain seemed to have sensed it. They flashed and appeared in everyone's sight. It's him. Yes, it's the young man with the surname Yi. The myriad source chi is with him. The wild was in an uproar. Many people recognized that it was Yi Fan. He was wearing a purple robe. His black hair cascaded down like a waterfall. His eyes were bright. He was only about 15 years old. He looked handsome and even a little immature. Do you Holy Lands have a dog's nose? How could you find this place? The young man in purple on the mountain yelled. His words caused an uproar. This sacred body of the ancients was indeed bold. He dared to act like this even after being surrounded. Ignorant kid. You're about to die, yet you're still talking big, an old man scolded. Haha. The young man in purple threw his head back and laughed. His messy hair flew in the air. He said loudly, "Don't try to take advantage of your seniority. One day I will visit you holy lands one by one. When my sacred body of the ancients is completed, I will kill each and every one of your saint lords." Wow, everyone was in an uproar. His words were too outrageous. He was probably the only one in the entire Eastern Barren territory who dared to say such things. Damn fatty, let's see how you're going to deal with this. Yi Fan gritted his teeth. The wicked Taoist priest had spoken so brazenly. He would definitely be held responsible for this. I wonder what this fatty's expression will be when he finds out that he can't travel through the void. I bet his face will turn green. Tu Fei chuckled. Chapter 305. The young man in purple on the mountain peak had his black hair dancing in the wind. He pointed out the world passionately, looking like he was facing the world alone. However, Yi Fan thought that the fatty was pretending to be him and felt disgusted. Otherwise he would have admired him a little. The young man in purple stood with his hands behind his back, looking more and more relaxed. He raised his eyebrows and said, "And you saints and saintesses in my eyes are nothing but flowers in a greenhouse. If I enter the 4 levels secret realms in the future, I will challenge you one by one and make you bow down to me." Everyone was shocked, and many cultivators from the Holy Lands were even more furious. The younger generation was in an uproar. This barren ancient physique was too arrogant and intolerable. He pointed out the Eastern Barren territory, questioned the world, looked down on everyone, and thought he was the only one. "You've gone too far," someone shouted. On the mountain peak, the young man in purple looked up at the sky and said passionately, "My fate is up to me, not the heavens. In the future, this land will bow down to me." This fatty is too into it. He really thinks he has the sacred body of the ancients. Tu Fei was speechless. This immoral Taoist was actually stirring up emotions and looking heroic. "You're too arrogant." Many people could not stand such words. The eyes of the young man in purple shone brighter and louder. He said, "When my sacred body of the ancients is completed, I will bloom and kill all the flowers, sweeping across the Eastern Barren territory." His eyes were shining as he faced the crowd alone, looking like he was willing to fight against everyone in the world. However, when he remembered that he was Duanda, the big black dog felt like vomiting blood. Too shameless, too immoral. I have never seen such a person. Damn it, using someone else's name for fun is just inviting trouble for you. Tu Fei sighed at Yi Fan. Your arrogance has reached the heavens. Someone from the Holy Lands shouted. Am I arrogant? I was just stating the truth. Duanda disguised himself as Yi Fan. He swept his gaze around with a brilliant smile. His snow-white teeth flickered with a crystalline luster under the sunlight. Holy Lands, all of you listen up. If you chase after me today, I will definitely repay you in the future. What right does a piece of trash like you have to say such things? You'll never be able to break through the Holy Ji Palace secret plane in this lifetime. Curses are meant to be broken, and miracles are meant to be created. Who can stop my destiny? Duanda was in high spirits. His eyes were clear and bright as he said, "In the future, I will rule the world and visit all the lands of the great sage." I can't stand him anymore. Someone hurry up and chop him up. There were people from the younger generation who were going crazy, truly unable to endure it any longer. Keep your ancient scriptures well. I will definitely borrow them to take a look in the future. Polish up your weapons, I'll definitely play with them in the future. Guard the great emperor's tomb well. I will personally open it in the future. Duanda said 3 sentences in a row, and all of them were shouted in a very impassioned manner. It was as if he had pierced through the sky, causing the faces of everyone in the Holy Land to turn ugly to the extreme. The place erupted with noise. The purple-clothed youth risked universal condemnation and spoke these words. It truly left everyone shocked and furious. Tu Fei cursed, "This man is too arrogant. I want to see how he will deal with this later." The Black Emperor said to Yi Fan, "He said what you wanted to say. Anyway, it's too early. This damn fatty is making enemies for you. Today I will stomp him to death. I won't feel wronged at all." Yi Fan sighed. He said so much, but only the last sentence is his true intention. This damn fatty hasn't changed his wicked nature. He still wants the great emperor's tomb. The more he tosses and turns, the more painful it will be when he falls. What I'm waiting for the most is the change of this damn fatty's face. Tu Fei laughed evilly. "Kid, you've said so much. You can die in peace now, right?" said an old man in a low-pitched voice. "You bunch of pigs, do you think you can trap this saint's body?" Duanda was extremely sarcastic, cursing everyone inside. Ignorant child, do you think that by carving Tao patterns you can cross the void without fail? An elder's face was full of disdain as he sneered continuously. Duanda shook his head, his face arrogant. You old fogies. Do you think you can use secret treasures to lock this place and stop me from crossing the void? You're too naive. Kill him. Although they were precursors, they couldn't stand him anymore. Some of them wanted to storm forward. Duanda turned around arrogantly, his back facing the crowd. He walked slowly, clasping his hands behind his back. If I want to leave, who in this world can stop me? The void is locked. I want to see how you can leave. A hoarse voice arose, sounding calm. The Tao patterns I control are the remnants of the great ancient emperors. Who can lock them? Mocked Duanda. What? Don't send me off. Even if you send me off for 1,000 miles, we will part eventually. From now on, the sea is wide and the fish can jump freely in the sky. I'm leaving now. Duanda waved his hand and then muttered, You will never understand my path. Many people landed on the mountain peak. Their gazes could kill and they all had the urge to bite him. Life is truly as lonely as snow. His purple robes fluttered in the wind, his back facing the crowd. This saint is leaving. But he didn't move and still stood in place. Go! Shouted Duanda. He still didn't move. Yellow leaves fluttered in the air, falling before his eyes. He didn't leave. Crossing the void. Duanda couldn't stay calm. The autumn wind blew, and the fallen leaves fluttered like butterflies. He stood there without moving at all. Damn it, crossing space. Duanda was anxious and had the urge to cry. But the autumn wind blew gently, and the scenery before him didn't change. This time he was completely flustered. The consequences were too serious. He stamped his feet, but the mysterious jade platform didn't react at all. He couldn't cross the void. Duanda's body froze as if he had been struck by lightning. He felt the world spinning. Damn it, what happened? He felt his mouth dry and his buttocks on fire. The situation was extremely urgent. If he was trapped here, he didn't need to think to know what the consequences would be. Just now he was in high spirits and looked down on the world. He had criticized the great sage to the latrine. If he couldn't leave, just thinking about it made his hair stand. Even if these old farts have secret treasures, they can't stop this Tao pattern. At this moment he broke out in cold sweat. All of his coquettishness and elegance disappeared, and his calves started to cramp. After confirming again that he couldn't cross the void, Duanda's vision darkened. He staggered and almost fell to the ground. At this time, Duanda felt like he had stepped into the sky from a tall building. His scalp was numb and his limbs were stiff. Damn it! He cursed in a low voice. At this moment, Duanda's face was completely green. He wanted to cry but no tears came out. He wanted to curse the ancestors of the heavens. Why haven't you crossed the void? The mountain peak was already filled with people. They were less than 30 meters away from him and it was impenetrable. Duanda turned around, revealing a smile that was uglier than crying. Guys, what about you? Where's your arrogance? Someone mocked him. King wanna cry. God is messing with me. Duanda's face was green. He looked worse than if he had eaten a dead toad. Ha ha ha. Ha ha ha. Tu Fei laughed crazily in the sky, which attracted people's attention. Yifan also had the impulse to pound the ground. He laughed happily. Seeing the wicked Taoist so gloomy, he was so happy. Finally, I see this damn fatty's face. Ha ha ha. Tu Fei laughed crazily, talking to Yifan. Black Emperor also laughed hollowly. His big mouth almost reached his ears. He looked a little evil. Why don't you run away? Everyone surrounded Duanda on the mountain peak, and all of them had mocking expressions on their faces. Just now he was too arrogant, and now that he was on the verge of tears, they were all incomparably carefree. I'm so King depressed. Duanda's face was pale. His eyes moved back and forth as he was trying to find a way to escape. Where's your drive? Keep showing off. Duanda gritted his teeth. He couldn't say anything. He had been too high profile and said a bunch of harsh words. Now he could only watch helplessly. Are you scared? Why aren't you saying anything now? Someone sneered. CK, who's talking? Come out. I'll fight you one-on-one. If you don't like it, come over. I'll kill you with one slap. Duanda shouted again. He didn't dare to reveal his real body. He could only use the name of Yifan to show off. If he could escape and change back to his real body, he could still be free. He's arrogant again. You good-for-nothings from the Holy Ji Palace secret realm. If it's one-on-one, I'll kill you one by one with one finger. Duanda was arrogant. *CKU. Many people wanted to spit out these 4 words. Is there any cultivator from the Holy Ji Palace secret realm who dares to fight with me? If it's one-on-one, I'll kill you all. Duanda challenged. He didn't mention the saints and saintesses of the 4 levels secret realms. He didn't look at the elders in the distance. He shouted at the cultivators from the Holy Ji Palace secret realm, trying to find a chance to escape in the chaos. Whoosh! A group of people rushed up. They were all cultivators from the Holy Ji Palace secret realm. They started to beat Duanda up. All kinds of treasures flew in the sky, beating him until he ran away. I'll fight all the heroes in the world alone. I'll leave my name in the history of the Eastern Barren Territory. Duanda suppressed his cultivation to the Holy Ji Palace secret realm and hid among cultivators of the same level as him, shouting non-stop. In the distance, Tu Fei chuckled. You're famous today. Yi Fan rubbed his temples. He really didn't know if it was worth it. Duanda, the bastard, was using his name and acting so arrogantly. It was really troublesome. Don't worry about this bastard. Hurry up and take down the wooden Taoist. Yi Fan flew into the distance. He had to admit that the honest wooden Taoist's mind was really strong. When Yi Fan and Tu Fei arrived, they heard the wooden Taoist standing on a mountain peak with the Alcade and the Ji family's people. This man didn't want to run away. He wanted the 2 holy lands to pay him 100,000 pounds of the source each. Tu Fei sighed and said, he's a genius. Under such circumstances, he's still calm and collected. He's still here to swindle the source. I really want to cut this wicked Taoist's heart open to see what he looks like. Taoist priest, although the information you've provided isn't fake, what time is it? We don't have time to go back and collect the source for you. After that, you'll have to pay us a high price. Moreover, we've already given you a lot. The Alcade's people were speechless. They hated the old Taoist. At this moment, taking the source chi of myriad beings was more important. Killing the purple-clothed young man was more urgent. Taoist priest, you've collected 10,000 pounds of source from the Ji family. If you add the rewards from the Alcade and the other big forces, you have at least 50,000 pounds of source, said the Ji family's people. Tu Fei sent a message to Yi Fan. Should we wait a little longer and let him swindle more source? We'll take action later. Don't. This wooden Taoist has the same temperament as that damn fatty. They're the same. They're both cunning. It's obvious that he wants to run away. It's his last chance to swindle us. Yi Fan made up his mind. He gazed at the wooden Taoist, ready to take action. Eventually, the Ji families and the Alcade's people dashed to the mountain peak, leaving the wooden Taoist there. Taoist priest, if you don't take the source now, do you expect them to give it to you later? Yi Fan approached the wooden Taoist. That's what I think. However, we can't provoke the holy lands, said the wooden Taoist. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. All sorts of lights flickered as star stones, divine blood soil, and other materials engraved with Tao patterns flew out at the same time, sealing this mountain peak. Who are you? The wooden Taoist was startled. There were many people around. He didn't expect that someone would dare to attack him in front of so many people. The Tao patterns covered the mountain peak. Purple lightning was drawn down, stirring heaven and earth. The lightning was so violent that it scorched the ground and rocks. It's specially used to restrain me? The wooden Taoist's face changed immediately. Unscrupulous celestial being. It's you? Duanda's god was so angry that his nose almost became crooked. On the mountain peak, Yi Fan and Tu Fei took out their mysterious jade platforms. They were ready to steal the source and run away. The big black dog was controlling the Tao patterns to attack him. Duanda couldn't recognize Yi Fan and Tu Fei, but he definitely recognized this big dog. Boom. The purple lightning stirred heaven and earth. It was so terrifying that it hit Duanda's body. Chapter 306. The wooden Taoist's entire body was charred black. He had almost been burned to ashes just now. Every single streak of purple lightning was as thick as a water jar. They stirred up the 9 heavens as they hacked down from the heavens. The lightning radiance was terrifying, scorching the earth and stone. The wooden Taoist's expression changed drastically. This was the purple sky that countered him, and it could destroy his body of 9 tribulations. Without a consummate heaven technique, he definitely couldn't block it. The lightning was terrifying. He was like a tender branch in a storm, about to break at any moment. His Taoist robe had already turned into ashes, and his body was filled with terrifying burns. It's you again, you damn dog. Your nose is really sharp. I still haven't settled the debt from last time. The wooden Taoist shouted. He was one with Duanda and there was no difference. Cow nose, I felt regretful that I didn't take you last time. Today I've come to take you as a human pet. The large black dog shouted. He controlled lightning, causing heaven and earth to tremble, and the lightning was terrifying. A large dog threatened to take him as a human pet. How could Duanda, who had never been at a disadvantage, endure this? He was so angry that his fingers were trembling. He wanted to skin the dog alive, then immediately cook a pot of black dog meat and swallow it with soup and meat. You dog demon, I'll definitely suppress you. Human pet, don't be disrespectful to me. Be careful, I'll slowly train you in the future. The large black dog was like a wolf, very arrogant. Unscrupulous, celestial being. Duanda chanted, and his body emitted waves of light. It's useless. I know you cultivate the tribulation passing heaven technique. All of this was arranged for you. The large black dog laughed sinisterly. On the mountain peak there were Tao patterns everywhere and it was completely sealed. He controlled the purple sky and lightning struck one after another, turning this place into a sea of lightning. Although Duanda's cultivation level was high, he couldn't rush out of this forbidden area, and was trapped on the mountain peak. A purple sky from left and a muffled thunder struck him, making his body tremble. He was scorched black and his body was about to be destroyed. In the distance, many cultivators couldn't see clearly what was happening here. They could only see the thunder in the sky. The Tao patterns carved by the Black Emperor were very mysterious, isolating the mountain peak from the outside world. Only the lightning descending from the sky could be seen. Dog demon, we have no grudges or grievances. Why are you doing this? What do you want? The wooden Taoist shouted. Hand over source capital, and I'll take you as my human pet, the large black dog replied as he raised his bald tail. Damn it. The wooden Taoist Duanda was exasperated and said, Infinite celestial being, you are too evil. Today I will take care of you even if I have to sacrifice my cultivation. On the side Yifan laughed mischievously. Light flashed in his hand. He had already prepared the profound jade platform. The operation this time was about to be completed. Tu Fei teased him. That dog. If you can make him your human pet, I will admire you. Oh. Boom. A purple lightning strike came, almost hitting Tu Fei's head. He hurried to shut his mouth, not daring to say more. This forbidden land belonged to the big black dog. 9 heavens and 9 earths. Purify the undying body. The wooden Taoist Duanda shouted. However, his voice was quickly cut off. The large black dog roared, Heavenly tribulation. Tens of thousands of lightning strikes descended from the sky. All the purple lights connected together. The purple clouds were misty, and the light was dazzling. This was a world of lightning. There were purple skies and thunderstorms everywhere. Every inch of space was filled with a terrifying brilliance that could destroy everything. The heavenly tribulation of the 9 tribulations Tao pattern. The wooden Taoist Duanda exclaimed. Boom. This was not just a single lightning strike. It could be called a sea of lightning. Endless purple lights gathered together and fell down. The wooden Taoist Duanda's body cracked and was about to be smashed. Although he was made of divine power and not flesh and blood, he still felt a bone-piercing pain. He shouted, You know this kind of ancient technique? I know many more. Hurry up and become my human pet. The large black dog shouted. Damn it. Unscrupulous celestial being. Duanda was so angry that his nose was crooked. However, the situation was not in his favor. He had no other choice. Boom. Endless lightning struck down, and Duanda's body became faint. Much of his divine power dissipated, and he was almost killed. Human pet, surrender. I will give you supreme glory. The large black dog was extremely excited. He was just like Duanda, who was cursing all the holy lands with his purple clothes fluttering in the wind. Unscrupulous celestial being. Damn dog, don't be so proud. Duanda clenched his teeth and tried to think of a way to break through. Boom. The sea of lightning struck down. Duanda was beaten into the ground, and his mouth was full of sand. Human pet, tremble. Your master is angry. His anger will sweep through the 9 heavens. The large black dog was extremely solemn and sacred. He had surpassed Duanda not long ago. Tu Fei was dumbfounded. F***ck. Did this damn dog also get into the mood? He doesn't want to be in front of the beauty Duanda, but he also wants to look down on the world? Boom. Thousands of lightning bolts interweaved and struck down. It was so dazzling that Duanda's eyes rolled back. Human pet, repent. Kneel before me and I will forgive your sins. The large black dog became more and more arrogant. His huge head was raised very high as if he was an inviolable god. Yifan was also speechless. This damn dog was really immersed in his role. He thought of himself as a god. He was even more Duanda than Duanda had been not long ago. Human pet, repent. I am everywhere and I will walk with you. I will guide you back to my throne. The large black dog was majestic. He had a completely arrogant attitude and his appearance was solemn. Boom. Tens of thousands of lightning bolts shattered Duanda's arms. Although divine power could be regenerated, he still cursed in pain. F***ck. The wooden Taoist Duanda's face turned completely green. He had never suffered such a great loss before. A dog was looking down on him with its head held high, and it was clamoring to take him as a human pet. This made him want to vomit blood. Damn dog, what do you want to do to make me stop? Duanda couldn't hold on anymore. The god that was born from this Tao palace definitely couldn't be harmed, because he still needed this clone to save his main body. Black Emperor, make him hand over the source first. Yi Fan shouted. This damn dog was only concerned with having fun, and had almost forgotten the proper business. Human pet, kneel down and worship me. I will forgive your sins. Crawl under my feet and I will guide your path forward. The large black dog was becoming more and more engrossed. Boom. Lightning descended and Duanda jumped and fled. F***ck, are you done? Duanda was so angry that his whole body was trembling. Hurry up and hand over all the source. I will make it stop. Yi Fan transmitted his voice through the lightning. You are too inhumane. This is something that I risked my life to obtain. How can you do this? Duanda shouted unwillingly. Taoist, haven't you always done things like this in the past? Yi Fan mocked. I have always left some leeway but you. The wooden Taoist Duanda's hair was disheveled, and he was in an extremely sorry state. Human pet, bow down. I will forgive your ignorance. The Black Emperor acted like a charlatan, and a purple sky descended, interrupting his words. Human pet, pray I. Human pet, kowtow I. The large black dog was really addicted. His majestic voice rang out continuously and lightning struck wildly. Duanda was so angry that he wanted to vomit blood. Damn dog, hurry up and take back the source. Yi Fan couldn't stand it anymore. This guy was too torturous. Human pet, from now on, surrender to me. I will be with you and my glory will be with you. I will guide you to the path of immortality. My human pet, kneel down. The large black dog finally spat out his last words. It was really torturous. Even Yi Fan and Tu Fei couldn't stand it, let alone the unlucky Duanda. Duanda was struck by the lightning until white smoke rose from all over his body. He was barely breathing and only half of his body was left. He lay there motionless like a dead dog, but he was cursing. Damn dog. **ck, black dog meat? I will stew you alive. Human pet, do you surrender? The Black Emperor raised his head and shouted. I'll give you the source. Hurry up and open the restriction here. The wooden Taoist shook his hand, and a large pile of colorful source appeared on the ground. Yi Fan didn't step forward. He said, this is only 10,000 kilograms of source. It's far from enough. One can't be too greedy, Duanda said in a low voice. Then there's no room for discussion. Black Emperor, continue to cast lightning. Yi Fan sneered. Do you really think you can kill me? The wooden Taoist's body suddenly became faint. He actually disintegrated on the spot, turning into nothingness. Heavenly technique of passing tribulations. Immortals are immortal and they are everywhere. They are very difficult to destroy. The large black dog's eyes flashed and he said, but he's unlucky to run into me. Does he really think he can escape this tribulation by disintegrating? Boom. Lightning interweaved and every inch of space was filled. The lightning was like an ocean drowning the mountain. This is the 9 tribulation Tao pattern. No matter what you become, as long as you are alive, you have to pass the tribulation. You? Duanda screamed, his voice coming from the void. Hand over source, we don't want to talk nonsense. If you don't take out 30,000 kilograms of source, you can just wait to turn into dust today, Tu Fei shouted. My human pet, if you don't know how to appreciate my kindness, don't blame me for being merciless, the large black dog threatened. Fine, you guys are ruthless enough. I'll give you all the source I have. Duanda was anxious. He was afraid that his main body outside would be destroyed. The sky was sparkling and many source pieces fell from the sky. The mountain peak was resplendent and it was dazzling. With so many source pieces piled together, the spiritual chi was dense and it made one feel lost. This kind of dazzling thing was really bewitching. Black Emperor, trap him. I'll go collect the source. Yi Fan didn't want to be sneak attacked by Duanda. Everything went smoothly. Yi Fan waved his sleeves and collected the source pieces on the ground. There were more than 25,000 kilograms, and this was a huge fortune. If he added the 25,000 kilograms in his hands and the divine source, he could almost